Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing today? Well, baby, you asked and I delivered. A lot of you guys wanted the Miss Natania Rueben to come on and share her story about J-Lo, Diddy. But baby, I reached out to Natania. She was kind enough to come on. I'm going to bring her up in a second. But when I tell you that she shared so much information, so much knowledge, and so much background, I promise you, whatever you think you know about Diddy, about J-Lo's involvement, about Shyne, and also about what happens and Diddy's reign of terror in New York City, baby, you just don't know. You guys, with no further ado, first I want to say thank you to everybody that came here. Let's bring Natania up. Also, Wanda, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Everybody say thank you to Wanda Lowe for that super sticker. So with no further ado, I want to bring Natania up. We are going to be taking questions at the end of this live. Keep that in mind. I do want to say that we might have to switch to subscribers only to take questions, just in case the live gets a little bit unruly. Well, not unruly, but just starts moving too fast. But regardless, Natania, let's give her a warm welcome. And listen, y'all better not embarrass me. Okay. I know y'all never do, but I'm just saying. Yeah, please, let's make this channel look good. Let's not chase people away. All right. Anyway, with no further ado, let's bring Natania on to the stage. Natania, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
I am great, Tisa. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Welcome. It is my honor. You look absolutely gorgeous. I've been telling her the whole time. I love the yellow and the green. It's just popping. So listen, if people don't know, let me just tell you guys who Natania Rueben is. Natania Rueben is a young woman that when she was just starting off as a music recording artist, she went to a nightclub in New York, okay? Now, she was involved in the trial where Diddy was acquitted and J-Lo didn't even get charges filed against her. The media portrayed it as, you know, it was what it was. Natania tells a completely different story, even details that even I didn't know, as if the fact that you and Shyne were actually cool. Shyne said he knew you. That's why when people say, well, how can she be sure who? She knew who was walking through the door. But what's more important is, as if that wasn't more important, she'll also go on to tell you how Diddy or someone put a price on her head where she literally had to flee the state of New York. You guys, again, whatever you think you know about this shooting, it goes deeper into the core. So Natania, let's just jump into it. And then we'll kind of like move backwards because I want people to hear in your own words. Tell us about the night that it all happened. From the time you got into the club until you remember going to the hospital. Why don't you walk us through this?
Sure. So first and foremost, again, thank you so much for having me, Tisa, and I appreciate you. So it was a peculiar night in all regards. Every little thing that could have happened to dissuade me from going happened. As I was leaving my friend's house, her dog jumped on my back. I dropped my earring under the fish tank that had broke earlier the week, cut my finger. It was just so many things that tried to stop me from crossing that threshold. And when we got to the club, everybody was in the car already blowing the horn. I was taking, too long. And we finally got to the club. And the oddest thing, I had been there quite a few times before. And the oddest thing was that there were two ambulances. They were angled halfway on the sidewalk, halfway in the street, narrowing traffic to one lane. And I said, my God, are they expecting somebody to die? I mean, it was so jarring to see that. And ironically, one of those ambulances is the one that took me to the hospital. So it was just, and the other one took the other guy who got shot. I mean, hindsight being 2020, it was just so unbelievable. And like I said, I see this over and over in my head and I can replay it so fluidly because it's the truth. It just, it rolls off your tongue. I've relived this moment a million times. So we got to the front of the club. Sure.
So there were two ambulances there. Now, again, I have, you know me, I search for the facts, but I also am deep in the conspiracy theories about the fact that there were two ambulances already ready to go
already
at
on
the club. It's funny with Diddy, and I don't want to be that person, but I will. when you look at what happened at City College, when you look at what happened at City College, when you look at what it's a hell of a coincidences and coincidences go.
Ironically, I was supposed to be at City College right before my sister and I were leaving. Something came over me and said, "Don't go." And I said, "I'm not going." And you know what, Black mamas, if your sister ain't going, you ain't going. My sister was livid, went in my room, knocked everything off my bookshelf. She was livid because something would not let me walk out that door. And we had planned, had our outfits and everything. And at the last minute, I was like, "I don't think we should go." And she was upset with me. And I promise you, after we heard the news start rolling in, she just looked at me and was like, and there were no words to be exchanged.
You probably saved her life. For those of you guys that don't know, why don't you tell people what happened at City College?
So City College was a basketball tournament that was supposed to be like a celebrity basketball tournament or something, and they were supposed to be doing some sort of fundraiser for the narrative changes, but some sort of fundraiser. And then it was oversold, grossly oversold. And so when they had already reached capacity, it's my understanding the day of the event and the day before, he still was advertising it, even though it had already been sold out, which caused a bunch more people to arrive. And then there became, you know how situations happen, a bum rush. And it was just so weird. So many people got injured and so many people died. So 9 people died, but it was really 10 because the rapper Father MC, his baby mother was pregnant. And so she was about 8 months pregnant, and the unborn child as well, which is what made the count 10. But it was very unfortunate that all those people had to endure that trauma and survive that. And you know my policy, I think I spoke to you about this already. I feel like it was a sacrifice. Every time somebody has to elevate, a sacrifice takes place. So
now, definitely with that. So then go on. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, not at all. Not at all. And so that night, like I said, there were 2 ambulances already there, parked on the sidewalk, halfway on the sidewalk, halfway in the street, narrowing traffic to 1 lane. And so that struck me as odd. And I said something. I had just gotten saved and was not in the clubs. One of my girlfriends is a big party promoter. Her name is Big Stacy. I love her dearly. And she was having a party New Year's Eve. So I wouldn't go, but I said, okay, I'll go out with you guys the night after Christmas to be able to celebrate, to promote and celebrate. So I went out, and when we got there, I said, "Oh, this is a bad omen." And they were like, "Come on, girl, don't start with that old sanctified stuff." But we all chuckled it off and proceeded. We parked, we got out front of the club, and there were a ton of people in front of the club. But you know how a New York City club can be. Sometimes they keep a bunch of people outside to build the mystique. Hey, it's packed in there. But it was packed in there already. So when I got outside, so many people were like, everybody calls me Ebony professionally. That's my nickname. My salons were named that. That's how everybody knows me. And so everybody was like, Ebony, what you doing here, sanctified holy roller? Like it was a joke. It was this whole, ooh, not the Holy Ghost, what, coming to preach a sermon? And it was, it was hilarious. All I could do was laugh because, you got to, coming from New York, you have thick skin. You can't come in here and be all emotional. Oh, don't make fun of me. That's not me. So I laughed because it was funny. They were like, uh-oh, you doing a sermon? You going to pass the plate? We had our chuckles. And then, like I said, there was such a crowd outside, but because Stacy was promoting, the owner has this group of, I guess they're his brothers, cousins, family members. They all look alike. And one of them came to the door and escorted us in. He said, "How many you have?" She counted us out and we all went in. Ironically, I got into the lobby. I was probably one of the last people to get through because the young lady, Sharice Myers, who was the security guard who lied and said she jumped on top of Puffy when the shooting happened. Absolute, utter lie. And everybody called her out. She says she jumps on top of Puffy, but when I'm going in, she's checking my pocketbook. I have a rat tail comb in my bag. And I'm talking about a rat tail comb, not even the pointy cheap ones. It was a good one. So the end of it was dull. It had a solid tail. And it was just in my pocketbook. She snatches it out, makes this big, this ruckus. You can't take this in. This is a weapon. You weaponized my hair comb, but you let people in with guns that shoot bullets that kill people. I do not know in my 53 years of existence a story about someone being killed with a comb. not even gravely injured. But I
Okay,
know
so
countless stories.
we're gonna use like bang bang instead of shooting and deletion instead of
Fine, fine,
okay.
fine.
Um, but definitely. So you got to the door and they were being super, super strict. There's already two
Super strict.
ambulances outside.
Mhm.
So you're in the club, okay, and you're having a good time. Again, Natania is gorgeous,
I
as you guys
wasn't
can
doing a lot.
tell, but she was go on.
I wasn't doing a lot. I stood in the corner. I felt so awkward being there that night.
Okay.
Stood in one spot all night.
So you stood in one spot all night. And this is important because some people be like, how can you be sure? It's not like you was out there like getting it on the floor and you didn't know, and then you heard sounds. You were aware of your surroundings because you had just gotten saved. You were there with friends, but you kind of felt like a fish out of water. So you were just observing, you know?
Yep.
And anyone that's ever been to a club and you are the sober friend, you already know, like,
Yep.
it's fun, but you're just like, oh my God, right? So
It's
you're
here.
observing and you're kind of like in a corner. So you have a view of everything. So tell me the moment you actually saw Shyne, Diddy, and J-Lo enter.
So another thing is, it had only been by the time I got bang banged, it had
Okay.
only been an hour and 15 minutes in the club. We had
Oh,
only been in there an hour and 15 minutes. In that time, the young man Scar, who was very familiar to me. I mean, we were cool. I knew Scar. His mom lived across the street from one of my beauty salons. So he was a regular. Scar is the guy they ended up getting into an argument with. So I knew him. You know, he even turned around and was like, "Hey, what you doing in here, Pastor?" You know, making jokes. He's like, "What you drinking on? I got you, Ab." And I said, "No, I'm good. I'm not drinking." And I said, "Give me a juice." And he said, "You got me ordering juice?" Like, I ordered a juice. He bought me a juice and I drank a juice. I just had gotten saved a few months before. I did not feel like I was supposed to be there. And so we chuckled a bit. I went back. He was by the bar. I went back to and his little crew, and I went back to my corner. In fact, I stayed in my corner. He brought me to drink. So where I was, there was a slight railing behind me, just a small railing, and that was the railing that led to the steps where you step down. It was a decline, and you step down to the dance floor.
Okay.
So I was standing on that upper level where the bar was, heading towards the door. There was a lot going on in there. One of my girlfriends, they were out doing their thing, and they would all come back and check on me, like, "Hey girl, you good? What's up?" And one of them said, "I want to go to the restroom." So I did walk with her to the restroom. When I walked to the restroom, we went on the perimeter of the club, the outer perimeter, and we came right back. And was there for a little while. So I did start to see that, it's really packed in here. I started to see who was in there, and it was packed. A little while later, this entourage was making their way from the dance floor up the stairs in that corridor, headed towards the front door. So you know how it is. They have their entourage. It's the main people, then their entourage, and then the hangers on who want to be, adjacent.
Yes.
Lab adjacent, power adjacent, whatever. And the crowd started pushing. At the time that the crowd, so as they were coming through, Shyne sees myself and one of my homegirls, Kelly, and he reaches over the crowd and was like, "Ab, Kelly," and we touch hands.
Okay.
He's in this big entourage, but we stop and touch hands. And he's like, "What's up, y'all?" And, we just set out salutations. People are walking through, and then the crowd starts to sway. Black Rob's song, "Whoa," is coming on. And that intro is like,
Whoa. Yeah.
People were getting like,
Yeah.
and everybody's like swaying and doing this kind of machismo and pumping up their chests. And I guess it's their artists and their label mates. So everybody's a little hype. They're walking. They push, the crowd sways, and they push Scar. Now Scar's back is to the crowd. He's facing the bar. His back is to the crowd. So whether he knew who it was or not, I doubt 100%, because his back was to the crowd. But when he got pushed, he instinctively, it spilled his drink on him. And you can see him like, throw them bowls to buck back. Like, "Who's that? Get off of me."
Yeah.
Of course, it became a shoving match. And I turned around to my girlfriend. I said, "This doesn't look good." But it happened so fast. It was almost as if you didn't think it was going to escalate to anything that big. It just was a little shoving match. That happens.
Now, Julie, now, just to let you guys know, of course, I read some of the court transcripts and whatnot. Julius Jones, and he was another person that got shot. Natania was not the only one that sued Diddy. Diddy was sued for like $1 billion from like 5 or 6 people. However, Natania in civil court won a huge, hefty settlement. But getting back to that moment, Julius, he was another man that was actually banged in the altercation. He was not anybody fighting, but he was actually injured.
Well, he was friends with Scar. He was on that side of the bar.
Yes, he was on that side. But Julius Jones said he saw Diddy less than 4 feet away when Scar bucked back. Diddy pulled his piece out like a maniac and started letting things off. So tell us, so we're in that moment. You see the buck back. It's slow motion.
And so right after the buck back, somebody who was with Scar, you hear the raised voices, and instantly somebody who was with Scar had money in their hand for whatever reason. Might have been stunting, maybe the early days of the phone brick, but he instantly and slaps Puffy with the money. And money is flying everywhere. It's like that.
Sorry.
It's hilarious when in retrospect.
Yes.
And how fragile the male ego can be. But he slapped him with the money. And in that, there's a scene in Paid in Full where money is raining from the sky. And money is raining from the sky. So people are simultaneously trying to grab money. It was a lot of money. People are trying to grab money. People are pushing and swaying the crowd. It is a multitude of things happening simultaneously while money is raining down. So when I saw money raining down, I looked up and I was like, there's something in the pit of my stomach said, this is not good.
Yeah.
Because you can't slap a man with money. It is like it's like spitting on somebody.
Yeah.
So when he did that, I instantly saw them pulling from their hip and backing back. That was Shyne and Puffy.
Both of them
backing back. Now, Shyne was closest to the bar. He was on the side where Julius Jones was, closest to the bar. Puffy was on the other side. So if it's me facing the doorway where they were backing back towards the door, Shyne would have been on my right and Puffy would have been on my left.
Okay.
And people do this whole thing. So the club is dim, but it's not dim where you can't see. We all can. How do people mate with people that they meet at the club? Because you can see somebody look good. And then the least of which is, in a sea of people wearing party attire, this dude is dressed in white. Of course, I watched that black gun come out. It was such a contrast. You could not see it.
Diddy was dressed in all white.
Yes. So people that try to do this whole, how can you be sure? How do you know? It was a club. It was like, come on. We see everything else in the club.
That's true.
Steve ain't right. You could tell whose track showing. You could tell who got on contacts, whatever, whose makeup is cake, and we can tell everything.
True.
So why can't you tell that? Like, I mean, the notion that people are always like, how can you be sure? The same way we're sure of every major thing, every major cataclysmic event in our life.
To be fair, you were completely sober. You were completely sober. Your back was to the wall because you were you are naturally observant and you had a bird's eye view. Diddy was a big celebrity back then and he was wearing all white. And you saw him get slapped in the face with money. So even though, yes, I do find that improving, but the thing is, if I saw anybody get slapped in the face with money, your eyes are instantly on there because there has to be some type of retaliation. Your eyes are focused on them.
And so just the machismo, you knew that some type of retaliation was going to take place or that it would push further. I didn't realize to the extent with which, but I knew it was going to go further. So
you see, so you're sitting here, Shyne's to your left, Diddy's to your right, eyesight. You see
Shyne is to my right. He's by Diddy's to my left.
Okay, so
I can't do the Diddy thing.
So Shyne's to the right, Diddy's to your left, and you see them both go for.
I see them both reach and draw from their hip, and so I turn to tell my friend, "Oh my God, watch out!" And as I turn so bodies are moving, but as I turn to tell my friend, "Oh my God, watch out!" As I was turning back, I know it was the voice of God. He said, "You are about to be hit. Calm down." And I said, "No." And when I looked at them, Instantly, pow, pow, muzzle flash. Shyne's muzzle flash was slightly higher. Puffy's muzzle flash was slightly lower. And it was just like, pow, pow.
Now,
Instant.
that's something interesting. And did you bring? I'll ask questions about the trial later, but that's undeniable for anybody that is familiar with firearms, especially in the club. You will see the muzzle flash go off, and no matter how quick your trigger finger is, they were all three Smith and Wessons. It's impossible to see muzzle flash go off at the same time, or even a second after with the Smith and Wesson.
And it was like pow pow, and it was so bright. It literally obliterated my sight. And I instantly said, because I had just gotten saved. And so in having just been saved, we start going to classes. And the pastor said, this is not the end. This is the beginning. You are about to. So life and death is in the power of your tongue. And that rang true in that moment to me, because I instantly threw my hands up and said, no, God, don't take me. I have children to raise. I'm not finished my work yet. I literally said that instantly. And I felt like all of the flesh on my head rushed to this point in my face. It felt super tight. And everybody screaming, running, trying to go to and from hither and yon. And it was just a melee. And I instantly saw, first these people are running and these girls pushed through and trampled me. They pushed me back. And my leg got twisted out because I didn't just get shot. I also tore my medial meniscus and had to have surgery on my leg. I was on a leg immobilizer and brace and all that for a long time.
Oh my gosh.
So my leg was turned out. And as I'm tapping the floor for my friends through the crowd, I'm like, guys, y'all okay? Y'all okay? As I'm tapping on the floor, they're like, yeah, we're all okay. And I said, I'm not okay. And these girls were like on top of me. And I'm like, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. They said, you okay, Eb? I said, I got shot in the face. And that's when one of my friends reached across and pushed the girl off of me. And when she pushed her off of me, the girl was like this, touching her hair and looking at her hand. And it was just blood everywhere.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like, oh my God. And in my mind, I kept thinking, but I was calm. I was hyper focused. And that's actually been my personality since I've known myself. When things go crazy and everybody else is losing it, I become super calm and hyper focused.
Eye of the storm.
It's always been like that. So exactly. So now everybody's flying out of the club, flying all types of places, or ducking, and the area is clear. And I see the body on the floor, right underneath the lip of the bar where he was standing. He's now laying on the floor.
Scar.
Not Scar. This is Julius Jones.
Julius, okay.
Everybody else involved in the shooting, I don't know where they ended up scattering, but Julius Jones gets hit in the shoulder from Shyne's bullet, which he even admitted to, because he said he heard them say, he's gonna, they're gonna kill him. I don't know what was said in that immediate part. I wasn't on that side of the bar. But I know for a fact that when this guy was laying right under the lip of the bar, I thought he died. And because at that moment, everybody was running through the front door and I could feel, do you remember on Star Trek where they used to say, beam me up, Scotty?
Yeah.
They would pixelate when they were about to teletransport. That's what my body felt like. My body was pixelating. I didn't feel like flesh anymore. I stopped feeling like a solid body. And I was pixelating, and I knew I was breaking apart because when people ran through the door and the door opened, I could feel that cold air from that December 27th morning rush in and pass through me like a loosely knit sweater. And I was like, oh God, I'm dying. I thought I was dying because that wasn't a sensation I had never, ever experienced. And so my mind only likened it to the flesh is dying. And I stopped in the midst of that because I saw the guy laying on the floor and I prayed for him because I thought we were going to die in the same, I thought he was dead and I thought we were dying from the same thing. And I didn't want him to meet God without being saved. And so I stopped and I prayed for him. I stopped and I prayed for him. And, I don't realize how long it was, but by the time I turned around, it felt like I was the only one there. And then these two sisters that I knew that were from Brooklyn and, everybody knew them, Keisha and Red, they came toward, when everybody else was holding their face and looking at me going, oh, and running away, Keisha and Red came to me. And so Keisha Red dove over the bar and got a bunch of paper towels. But they had the mindset to not shock my system. They were like, "Come to me, Eb. Just walk over to me, Eb. I don't want to scare you. Come to me." They
Oh,
didn't
wow.
grab me or anything. And they had the mindset to know, to be calm about it. And
Mm-hmm.
just as he was giving me the paper, I look over to the side. There's this side door right in that little area where I had been standing by the railing.
Mm-hmm.
This guy with long dreads and about 2 or 3 other people, they were running into that door. And she said, "Hold the door." And he slammed it shut. So she went over to the door and bang, "Open this effing door. Open this door. You heard me." And eventually somebody opens the door. And that's when they escort me. They're like, "Come on, Eb, let's go through the door." And when they opened the door, the light was super bright. It was the kitchen to the adjoining hotel. And I could see, and no disrespect, I could see short Mexican men with aprons on, what looked like short Mexican men to me. And that black and white tile pattern
Yeah.
with a million red footsteps, bloody footsteps in every direction. And so I was awestruck because I knew it was my blood. And I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
"Oh God, I'm going to die." Like the amount of bloody footsteps, I didn't think any human body could survive after that. And so I was like, "Wow, I'm going to die." And so but I was still calm. As I got into the kitchen, I saw these 5 boxes, like kind of askew, just stacked 5 high. And they had carrots in them. And they literally looked like almost cartoon version of carrots with the long stem, green
Yeah, the
stem
green.
were poking out of the boxes. And so that looked like the only stable thing. And I went and stood by the carrots, by the boxes, and leaned on the box, like just had rested my hand on the box while I held the paper towels to my face. And
Mm-hmm.
blood was just gushing and it was everywhere. And I just kept thinking, like, why did I come? Like, how did I get here? And so I stood there for a while and people were just, I was awestruck by there was movement. So do you know on TV, you've ever seen a commercial or something where they're showing that one person that's motionless, but
Yeah.
everyone else super fast? That is what it
Mm-hmm.
was. That's what was happening. And I kept seeing people in the periphery of my eye running through this door. Now, beyond the door looked dark, but, it looked dim, but people were shooting through there. People that had been
Yeah.
running the kitchen were going through there. And so somebody said to me, "Come on, come through there. Like, come get out." And so I start walking towards the door. Now, like I said, I kept seeing people through my periphery run through that door. As I approached the door, I didn't know where it led to, but it was dim back there. But as I approached the door, the Most High said to me, "Touch the floor." So I got a bunch of napkins in this hand, and my purse is over. I had a little purse on my hand, so my hand is through the loop, and the loop is here. But I'm holding the napkins. As I got to the door, and the Most High said, "Touch the ground." At this point, what did I have to lose? He held me this long. I touched the ground. And I felt something metal and it was heavy and I didn't know what it was. And God said, "Put it in your bag." So I just stuck it in my bag and kept walking through the door. And as I walked through the door, I was in this dark kind of passageway. And a man came and tapped me on my shoulder from the back. Now I didn't see anybody coming behind me. So I was like, "Who is this?" And when I turned, he said, "Come with me." And when I turned and looked at his face, I recognized him to be one of those Michael Burrows and his brothers, one of those club owners, the cousins, the whatever. They looked alike. I knew the facial features. And I was like, I kept thinking to myself, how did he know it was me?
How did he know it was you?
I would only assume that you saw me on a videotape. You saw me on the surveillance system, and that's how you recognized me. He tapped me from the back. How could you know who I was?
True.
And so I started following him, and then we heard something loud, whoop, 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 like some loud ruckus, and I didn't know what it was. I know he didn't know what it was because he got scared, and he took off and left me. But where we were standing was in the VIP section. This VIP, and I see a mirror on the wall, and I'm telling you, I kept thinking because people kept covering their mouth and like drawing back when they saw me, and I kept saying, "What do I look like?" And like I told you, it felt like all the flesh rushed to this side, and it was so
Mm-hmm.
tight. I started walking to the mirror, and God kept saying, "Don't look in that mirror," and I was just like, "Don't look in that mirror," and I had to see my face. And right when I got up to it, somebody turned around and was like, come this way, come this way. Like I literally, like a TV show, was about to look. But I think God knew in order to sustain me, I could not see that. And so I turned back and they were like, come on. We've been looking for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got to the kitchen, it was an EMT. He's like, where have you been? We've been looking for you. And so I don't recall talking a lot. But when I got to the staircase, when they led me out this corridor in the kitchen part, it led to the staircase for the hotel. And there were about people like 4 or 5 deep on either side of this grand staircase. It was probably about 5 or 6 steps. And people were on the platform and then on each step, like 4 and 5 deep, waiting to see who it was that got shot. And because I had beauty salons in New York and I was a vocalist and everybody knew me, I was popular. Everybody knew me. And I just kept hearing people saying, oh, it was Eb. And people were screaming, oh my God, Eb, and grabbing their face. And every time somebody said my name, I felt like something was pulling me closer to life. And I always remember that I was eternally great. It's making me emotional right now. I remember being eternally grateful for those voices. Even though everybody was standing in the staircase like, and looking away, and people kept saying, Eb, it was Eb. And every time somebody said my name, I felt like I was being pulled back to the land of the living.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm eternally grateful for that. It was the sound of my name that kept me alive. I don't even know what to call it, but I know that's what it was because I could feel myself fading. Like I said, I didn't feel like solid flesh anymore. I felt pixelated. And every time somebody pulled me back, I felt my body, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. You literally almost died. It's so interesting and harrowing to hear when, like, basically you feel like your soul is leaving your body, but the people and how they say talk to and hold you down literally were holding you to the land of the living. Please, I'm so sorry to take you back to.
It's okay. It's cathartic. It's cathartic because I spent so many years like not wanting to. I talked about it over the years, but sometimes you'll get that. All right, girl, you done told me that story. I heard it, and we can be insensitive as a people. We don't understand when somebody has survived the trauma and they try to talk to you, it's because they need to get it out. I'm a firm believer, and my mother always said, if you have dis-ease in your spirit, it will create disease in your body. And I've always been a truth to power person, so I speak. But you don't want to seem like you are harping on stuff, After a while, the fanfare goes away and people are kind of like back to their lives. And so you're just filled with all of this stuff and you tuck it away to deal with it. You're
better than me. I would have been handing out pamphlets to everyone I meet. Like, this is my life story. If you don't know, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, everybody would have heard. Like, so anyway, back to, I would have kept going on, but it's good that you had the courage to rebuild. I want to, let's pause right here. I want to come back to this point we are. Let's rewind because there's been so much we heard about that night. So Shyne and you actually knew each other. And this is Shyne. He's done multiple interviews saying he actually knew. I'm sorry, Natania.
It's quite all right. It's nothing to be sorry about. I need this. Tears are purification for the soul. For many years, I went without crying. And it took somebody, a wise woman said to me, listen, I don't know why you have to be so strong. You don't need to be perfect. That job is filled already. His name is Jesus. Go ahead and get out and cry. And I needed to hear that. People will come and give you very strong wisdom. It's up to us to hear it and take it. So I appreciate it.
Definitely. So let's rewind back to before an incident that actually changed the path of your life came up, because it wasn't just over when that happened and the trial. We're going to get there, but you were actually bullied and harassed in New York. As a matter of fact, you feared for your life. But I want to go back and talk about the players. Shyne said in multiple interviews that you and him were actually cool. He actually said that people overstated how close him and Diddy was, right? And Puffy, after this, actually rebranded to P Daddy and then to Diddy because he was trying to move away from people remembering what he actually did to you.
Absolutely.
So you and Shyne were cool. How did you know Shyne?
So Shyne used to be in front of a barbershop, a beauty salon barbershop, that a friend of mine, Manny Haley, owned. he sounded like Biggie. You know, we all knew him. He'd be out there rapping. You know, the young guys doing their little ciphers or whatever. And we knew he was trying to get a deal. So when I was actively pursuing a record deal, I'm a vocalist. People don't know that. Like, there's so much of me that got lost on the cutting room floor because this then takes precedence and becomes who society sees you as. But I'm a vocalist. I'm a skilled vocalist. I got the gift from God and my grandmother. God rest her soul.
Very talented.
My grandmother. And so thank you. I appreciate that. And I, you know, I was doing sessions. I would book studio time. I mean, my life was popping. I had beauty salons. I was living good. I was doing my thing. I was nobody's charity case by any means.
You were young, beautiful, and you had some money. Life was good.
My waist was snatched back then. You couldn't tell me nothing. I was good. And, you know, everybody came to my salons. Everybody knew me. I ran with people. So it was like, you know, some movers and shakers. I wasn't some pity charity case at all by any means. And so it just so happens that I was in my session one time and a young lady that, you know, lived in the building where my beauty salon was, she sang and she came to my shop and she was like, yo, Eb, when you go to the studio, let me go with you. I'd like to record with you. So she was in the studio with me that day and Manny called my phone, was like, what's up, Eb, where you at? What you doing? And I was like, I'm in the studio. What's up? He said, word, we got that cat. Remember the young cat Shyne? I said, yeah. He said, can we bring him through to your session? I want him. Let me get him on your, let's drop some bars. Let him come and drop some bars. So I said, all right, bring him through. So it was a crew. They came through. He came. He spit some bars. I remember he did a rap about Cohiba. I remember I had to go look up. I was like, what is Cohiba? Cigars. Cuban cigars. I didn't know what Cohiba was. But he was so, you know, you could see the fire in him and the desire to get what he thought, what he saw on the horizon. And it's my sincere belief. Nobody can tell me otherwise. When they took that copy of that, back then when we used to record on like ADAT and stuff like that, when they took that recording, they took that piece of the recording, and I'm sure that that's what they used to shop him to a bunch of people for him to get his deal. Now, I know he did other stuff, but that was what he was on wax on my song.
Okay. So you were definitely plugged in. So did you guys develop a friendship from that?
And we had a friendship. There was time, and this was more than one time he came to the studio. So on one particular time, I do remember vividly, it was the crew of guys. They were large dudes. They had money, they had power, they had position, they was doing their thing. They were known. These were big dudes. And he was a younger guy. And on one particular time, I could feel the energy where they were like, yo, let's go to the restaurant. Let's go, let's go eat. And I could feel this energy on him. I have a gift. I'm an empath. I can feel people's energy. And I knew instantly what that energy was, that discomfort. I could tell he didn't have money. And I never like people to be stripped of their dignity. I will save you from being stripped of your dignity. And so I said, y'all go ahead. I said, I'm not going to let him. He's like, oh, I'm going to stay in rhyme. And I said, I'm not going to let him outdo me. We're going to battle this out. Let's keep doing this. And they left. And I literally said, whoever wins, food is on them, the other person. And so I let him, we went a little longer. We didn't even stay that much longer. I said, where y'all going? They told us where we were going. They were going to the diner. And I went ahead and battled him for a while. And I was like, all right, you got me. Come on, let's go eat. And we went and met up and I paid for the food because I knew as a young man, when you were around a bunch of large dudes and you don't got it like that, you don't want to be stripped of your dignity. You don't want to be a grown man that asks another man to feed you. And I didn't want him to endure that level of shame, which it shouldn't have been shame, but I didn't want him to endure that. I could feel that was his issue. And so help me God, afterwards we went and I was like, oh, what's on me is my treat. You beat me. So this whole narrative of, now I was the fall guy. And, when the reporter said, is she being honest? Is she saying that you also, I'm not going to get into that. Why not? What are you afraid of?
So just to pause really quick for you guys that didn't watch my own old live, shame on you guys. But what Natania is referring to is Shyne is up running to be prime minister of Belize. That is a whole other thing between what's going on, money laundering, possibly rug trafficking. That's a whole different story. We'll cover that in a thing. Let's focus on Natania. But again, Shyne in that video actually spoke on what happened. He is trying to get exonerated because the people Belize, when Shyne got elected, put through legislation saying if you have ever been convicted of a crime anywhere in the world, you cannot be prime minister. Now, that was directly because they knew Shyne had been convicted in the US and he is not allowed in the US. Shyne is now working behind the scenes to get himself exonerated through the New York district attorney, saying that there is proof that he was not the one that did the bang bang. And he even mentioned Natania, but I don't believe he said her name. He's like, a young woman even says that there will be analysis. But if you can imagine Natania's betrayal, where it's like, I literally fed you and saved your ego. And I know you would never be so presumptuous as to point that out, but you came to him with a heart full of love. You have been saved, but even then, your nature is just kind, giving, and to leave people better than they met. So it's very disappointing that he chose Diddy and the money that it's alleged Diddy was going to pay him, even though Diddy ended up screwing him over too. And even now, after all these years, when he has the chance to free himself of whatever burden he might be carrying, he chooses to still speak in code and speak around the incident.
Well, here's why it's even more disturbing. First and foremost, when he sat in that jail for 10 years and all that time afterwards, he spewed pure venom, hot, flaming, pow, 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 bang bangs at him for throwing him under the bus, for
at Diddy.
Yeah, exactly. For throwing him under the bus, for not standing up for him, for bringing witnesses to testify against him. Here's the deal. Why would you compromise my integrity? Not only was I your friend, not only did you admit on the Combat Jack podcast, that's my friend. I'm sad that she got hit. Not only did this man do you dirty, you're willing to compromise your integrity and besmirch my integrity by now leveraging what I said when I finally have a platform to be heard on a large scale, that Puffy in fact shot me, because I've said this all along from the moment it happened.
You have been consistent.
Said when he was anesthetizing me to remove the bullet that was aspirating into my lung, I was screaming, Puffy shot me.
It's actually in the court documents that when you walked into the EMTs and also when you walked into the hospital, you were 100% from day one. It was Diddy. I saw him. He shot me. So this isn't you 10 years later being like, oh my God, I think I have a vision. You knew from day one. So when we look at Shyne, let's go back to that. Friends, spent time together. You fed the man. You did all this. Shyne did go on a 10-year rampage, going off on Diddy, calling him everything but a child of God. And Shyne still stayed quiet. And then when you got a platform and people started doing this Diddy thing, people started digging through and being like, well, hold up, what was Natania saying? That is when Shyne tried to leverage what you were saying, still not mention your name, still not help you get justice or spread the truth, but only to say, well, she's saying it, and now I'm saying it couldn't have been me, so I want to be exonerated. But I don't know who did it. I just know it's not me.
But here's the deal. Totally disrespecting another man, Julius Jones, who got banged, and a gentleman, Thompson, who was grazed. Why would you invalidate their life and their story? While I may have been the most seriously injured, why are you discrediting and invalidating these two other men? What have they done to you? You admitted it. How are you trying to wheel back now and use me as the leverage to be able to achieve what you want? I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
You speaking the truth, my mother always said, if you 10 toes down on what you got to say, speak the truth. Don't add nothing extra. Don't add nothing extra. When you got to add something extra, you are a liar. And I have a problem. Nobody's going to lie on me. Nobody's going to utilize me, my words, my pain, my trauma, my survival story to be able to get themselves out of trouble. You're not going to use me. I won't allow it. I never did. I was that kid. I don't care what anybody thinks about it. When I was sitting in the class and somebody threw something at the paper, everybody knew me. I always wanted to learn. Don't be clowning while I'm trying to learn. And if you throw a paper and the teacher turned around and said, who did it? I'm like, she did it. I want to learn. You could be here to be a goofball if you want, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for my education. Go be a goofball in the hallway. And if you got a problem with it, that's your business. If your lie intersects with my truth, too bad for you. Too bad for you. The word says, cry aloud and spare not. I ain't sparing. I'm not suffering fools. You're going to face what you did. and you're going to acknowledge the truth, and you're not going to utilize my truth to be able to get yourself out of a jam. You did it. Face accountability. That's what true recompense looks like.
Yeah.
Adulthood looks like.
Yes. So, okay, so we have Shyne, and that's a complicated relationship. And Shyne, again, it's so disappointing that he's not choosing to live in his truth, because he thinks, in my opinion, the material wealth, right? The wealth that this material world can offer him right now is outweighing anything, because he's not thinking about eternal. He's thinking about, okay, next week, whatever. Those
I think it's
Protestant.
deeper than wealth. I think it is
Tell me.
just trying to validate himself in the eyes of his father. Remember, he was the outside child, the unwanted child.
Let's talk about that.
College his whole life. While his father was living it up in Belize, he was in Brooklyn suffering, by his own words, struggling with his mother. And so I don't sit here and find joy in anybody's not feeling validated or not feeling acknowledged by their parent.
Okay.
Whatever renewed connection they have was not as a result of, oh, let me get closer with my child and this, that, the third, let me redeem my wrongs. It was, you were sent back home by default. And so in that, you are trying to establish yourself as, see, I'm not bad. I made something of myself. And listen, I've watched him over the years. I watched when he went back to Belize, and he was a community activist before he got into politics. And I was proud of him that he was redeeming himself. But you're not going to come now after all that time and leverage your growth and your accomplishment on my back. No.
Well, Diddy, his mortal enemy at one point, and his injection of money into his campaign fund is a very interesting arc too. There's a few comments people I need to read to you, and then I want to go back to that night of the club and talk about J-Lo's role, and then we'll come back and talk about Shyne, Diddy, and moving forward, even with Diddy and the what some say was a 150K hit on your head that caused you to flee New York. And the way, because you got paid such a huge settlement, you were systematically harassed through people, a lot of people say were agents of Diddy, because his ego and his anger could not get past that. Really quick, let's get into some of these comments. Paula Barnes, thank you so much for the super sticker. Vita says, do you think Shyne was still fearful, like maybe Kid Cudi was?
No,
Diddy?
he's an opportunist. He's an opportunist. This is about him elevating. He's the head of the opposition party. He's running for prime minister. The only way he can attain the seat of prime minister is if he is allowed to get out from under the conviction, because it is a law in Belize that if you are convicted of a crime, you cannot become the prime minister. So if he can get the conviction overturned by saying, oh, you see, I'm a fall guy, the lady said I didn't shoot her, without then continuing the full sentence and saying I shot the other guy, he is trying to get out. He could bang the other guy. My apologies. My apologies.
It's fine. I keep please, no apologies. Listen, that whatever the Lord's will is for this podcast, it's the Lord's will.
It is. I don't believe it's based in fear at all. I believe it's based in self-aggrandizement. I believe it's based in his own personal desires and nothing to do with the victim or survivor.
Okay, I'm just gonna turn my camera off for 1 second, but there's another question for you. So Keonce's World says, Natania, I wrote you on TikTok, and I'm so happy to see you're finally on here speaking your truth. Please note that it's footstool season. Those who tried to bury you literally will be the reason for your victories. I like the way that sounds, Keonce. Definitely. So really quick, it's above me now, said, praying for you. You were saved. God has his hands on you, and I'm glad you are here to tell your story. We support you. We 100% do support you. Also, if you guys are watching this on playback, there's going to be links to a lot of things Natania has going on. If you would like to support her, we're going to talk about that a little later, but there's plenty of ways to support. And there's a lot of ways that Natania has taken basically what the Lord has put in front of her and found ways, and very real ways, to support the community and others that might be in the same situation she was and situations she found herself into. So we'll also talk about it in a second. let me just get to this other comment, and then we'll get back into the speed of things really quickly. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, guys. Okay, so also, who else is this? This is You're Connected. Can you ask Natania about the 50K hit Puffy put on Scar's head after the shooting? You know what? Let's just jump into this. 50K hit on Scar's head, but a lot of people don't realize Natania also had a hit on her head. And for those thinking that, oh, maybe it was, you sure? You trying to, no, the DA actually relocated her down to Georgia because she was not safe in New York City. Natania, why don't you jump into that? First, let's address
Indeed.
Scar, and then let's talk about what you had to endure.
So yes, indeed. I truly believe that it is my sincere belief that that is how Scar met his fate, because he literally had just gotten out of jail. He literally had just gotten out of jail. He refused to talk to the DA on record. He spoke to them, but he refused to testify in the court because, when you live that life and you live that street life, you have to get it how you live it. And there are rules to that game. Every game that we're in, there are rules to it. And he was abiding by the rules of the game and the life he chose.
Scar's the man in the club.
Scar's the
one that smacked Diddy with the money and the shootout. So sorry, just wanted to bring everybody up to speed. Go on, Natania.
Mm-hmm. Sure thing. So I sincerely believe that's how he met his fate. He literally got out of jail, went to see some woman, and got banged
in the head. He got banged in the head.
I don't know that bag had ever been lifted off of him, but I know in regards to me, there was a credible witness, or a confidential informant gave testimony to the DA that on the street there was a hit on me. There was a bag on my head. Any night I could look out my window, there would be 4 blacked out SUVs. I lived in the corner property, so there were 4 corners, and on each corner was a blacked out, big tinted out SUV. And I was terrified. I was a divorced mom. We weren't divorced at the time, but we were separated, and I had 2 children that I had to protect. And the DA got this credible threat and had to relocate me late one night. Now, that doesn't make anybody feel good. That's not a good feeling. So these people that are on the internet, like, she's chasing clout, she wants some clout. First of all, by the grace of God, I'm 53. Thank God that he saved me on that fateful day on December 27th, 1999, and I'm here to see it. But baby, when you're 53, you ain't chasing no clout.
Yeah.
I ain't never gave a what about no clout. So please, if you are going to say something about me, do not malign me with your foolishness. What you guys are doing that are saying things like that are projecting. Don't project that on me. I am clear and concise with everything I have to say. In fact, because I told the teacher who was throwing paper, that's why I sound the way I sound, because my mother forced us to be consummate readers. Like, I was that rebellious, and I won't say rebellious. I would say
curious. You were curious about the world.
And I was also that kid that if a parent could have said, you guys walk 3 blocks down and turn left and stand on that corner. But if the Most High told me halfway through, make a right, I'm making that right and taking the consequences. And so, our people, the consequences was you're going to get your butt whipped. And so I was the kid where if you threatened me while we were out that I was getting a butt whipping, when we got home, I went and got the belt. Because I truly was I wasn't trying to be facetious or anything. It's just who I was as a person. You said that's what it was. I'm willing to take it. And so I've always been that person. So I always speak truth to power. And I believe in that. I'm not chasing any clout. I'm putting myself at peril to have this discussion.
Okay. Definitely. And thank you so much for even having the discussion with us. And for people the things about Diddy, I just did a video, but you guys know that I deep dive. Diddy's either a cursed soul and got the angel of death on his shoulder everywhere he goes, or there's something I've never seen when you really dig around. So many people pass away around him in the same way and manner. There's always 2 virgins in the same way or manner. I do want to say this. Let's go back to that bag on your head. How long after the trial ended did you get a bag on your head?
No, the bag was on my head before the trial.
Before that's what I meant.
I had to be relocated out of New York, and then I had to come back for the trial.
Thank you. My timeline was mixed up.
Yeah.
So
no, that's okay.
was on your head during the trial. And the
Mhm.
DA who had you set the testimony got a credible, and
This was
anyone know.
they got the credible testimony before the trial. I was gone for at least a year before the trial.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. And then, so what was that like being moved in the middle of the night? Did you think it was I mean, somebody says you have a threat, you leave, but did you think that was from Diddy? Had you seen
No,
anything prior to that?
the DA got a credible threat that they put a hit out on me. That's what the threat was. That's why I had to be moved.
But did you see anything prior to being
Um,
moved that made you think that something was going on?
well, just the SUVs on the corner of my block, and you know, I wasn't really out and about after that. Like I was
Yeah.
literally, unfortunate, sad to say, the Daily News had done a big front page article on me, and a bunch of people had done articles, but this particular article on the front cover of the Daily News, my face was bandaged. And so when people saw me, I was really a hermit. And my mother was like, well, come on, come outside the house, just trying to help me reacclimate back to the world. Because I was a social butterfly before that. And so I went out with her this particular day. She had to go take care of some business. And we were in Brooklyn. And there was a group of people, about, I would say, from 18 to maybe 27-year-old. It was quite a few of them. And when they saw who I was and recognized me, they cursed me out from across the street, called me everything but a child of God. I'm trying to take hip hop. You trying to take down a good black man. You trying to destroy, the culture. Just I was immobilized like my mom. I get my, outspoken personality from my mom, and my mother had to like buck, like, listen, she had to go in like, how am I the bad guy? I survived a 9mm gun bang bang to the face with 9 bullet fragments still in my face and head. And listen, people, let me just stop right there for a second, Tisa, because the internet, I feel like life is a lesson. It's a test case. It's a lesson, a case study. There are so many people that will watch the video, hear all these details, and then come back and say, oh, don't nobody get bang bang with 9 bullets and survive. Like, really, dude?
I'm fine with people like that. And just being on the internet, people have a narrative they want to believe. There are some people that's like, I want to see the truth. Let me hear the evidence, and then I will decide the truth. There's other people that they go in with a narrative, and no matter what you say, they're going to find a way to make you the bad person,
But
and this narrative.
there's such a microcosm of, in the world, there's so many people saying this same narrative. And I'm like,
No, it's
grow
not.
up. Like, grow up. Like, we got to have some cognition with how we present in the world. We have to listen, and we have to not listen to respond, but listen to understand. Because when you listen to understand, when someone says their narrative, diatribe, whatever it is they're espousing, if you listen for understanding, you will hear details and not have to then turn right back around and ask that same question or project your own response. And
That's
people
true.
do that like all the time. I would say 85% of the feedback has been extremely positive. And thank God for all of you people. I appreciate you so much. The 15%, I'm praying for you. I really am, because you don't
pray for the wicked.
You don't want to have this as a narrative. I've had to live this down for 24 years. I have children. This is a lot for my children. I have a daughter who was not even alive at the time, that I have to see that at times, she has a very exciting and fruitful life. And I know there are times where she's ashamed of it. Like, she doesn't want anybody to know. No teenage girl wants people to know her mother got bang bang. Because here's the thing. I've had people over the years, 2 different people in particular, that one I knew from work when I was down here. Nobody knew down here before this came out. And I had 2 different people that didn't know each other at 2 different points in my life, both say to me when they found out I got pow in the face, oh, who husband you stole? What? It doesn't occur to you that somebody's an innocent bystander. It doesn't occur that somebody's a victim of something. I had to be a husband stealer. Mind you, I'm not even that type of person. I was like, do you know me?
So it must be a great relief now, or at least not relief, but it must be a weight off your shoulder that as much as people want to defend this person, who he truly is to his core is being revealed right now in real time. And the more we actually look, the darker and darker and deeper the rabbit hole goes. So who he is finally being revealed. Let me ask you a question. You know, so there's Shyne, right? And with Diddy, you actually had to be relocated. So that night, let's go through the people. Shyne went to jail for 10 years. He also got deported, but Diddy was the one that was like, yo, deport him. Wolf was there. Wolf was Diddy's best friend. Wolf is dead. I had what's his name? I had Gene Dill on the channel, and he actually said that when it came down to Wolf, Wolf got in an argument with somebody at another club, and they called Diddy like, yo, get your man or else I'm going to do something. And Diddy basically gave the okay. Wolf was his best friend.
Would you like to know who that was?
Go on.
That was Big Meech. That's how Wolf.
Yeah, so Big Meech was in the club. There was an argument that ensued, but the thing is, they called. Yeah, because there was a wiretap on Diddy's phone, because apparently Diddy's phone, but the Fed's been watching Diddy for a while. This is back in 1990 something.
Yeah.
Diddy basically gave the okay and said, do what you got to do, and hung up.
It was in the early 2000s.
I'm sorry, early 2000s. Yeah. So Diddy said, do what you got to do, and hung up. And that night, Wolf didn't make it home. So the 5 people that were there, Wolf deleted. There was also Scar, person that smacked Diddy, deleted, right? All this happened within a few years of each other. We also have Shyne, we know what happened to him. We have Diddy, we know what God's dealing with him now. Let's focus on J-Lo's role, because J-Lo was in that club too. And she has been able to walk away from this, and she was painted as a victim. She stayed by Diddy's side. People even said she wore that green J-Lo dress to kind of change the narrative of people talking about what had happened with her and Diddy. What do you feel J-Lo's role was in this situation? Because a lot of people said she was culpable because she was the one using her celebrity and power, and also her white Latina. Don't come at me, y'all, saying J-Lo is Afro-Latina. She is not Afro-Latina presenting, but using her white Latina privilege to actually, at that time, right? At that time, to get a gun through security, because you look at her, she's a superstar, she's glamorous. What do you say about that?
I say you are 100% correct. I have said that from the beginning, because here's the deal. We're not taking a guess. We're not surmising. We have countless stories in history, in the history of now and everything in the last 24 years. If 4 African-American men are in a car and there is a gun, that gun belongs to 4 people. No one gets off. They all go. So the fact that she was allowed to leave because she cried, let's be honest. I've said it before, and I'm not going to even mince words on it. She was using her white skin privilege. And you can't tell me that you were so egregiously terrified and egregiously afraid because you stayed for another 2 years. They break up in 2001. I got Bang Bang in 99. So you was riding out. You was Jenny from the block riding out, doing what chicks from the block do. Anybody who wants to act like now she can, add water and stir, poof, now I'm upper echelon, by all means, do what you must for your life, but you won't get away with this. The God I serve, his karma is best served.
What role do you think she played a role?
I believe, well, according to Lil Rod's lawsuit, she brought it in. She brought the pow pow in, according to his lawsuit. And it's not uncommon for what also Cassie said. He would make carry his pow pow. And then I believe it was somewhere else in history, he did that to someone else too. Listen, what I know about old dogs, they don't change their stripes. They do what they do. Complacency breeds contempt. That is something my mother said all my life. If you keep doing a thing, like leaving the jelly open and not wiping the countertop off after you make a sandwich, and I never correct you and I don't get on you and make you know that that's wrong, and you are left to your own devices, complacency breeds contempt. Not only will there be jelly on the jar, it's going to be jelly on the countertop, crumbs everywhere. It's just going to be a nasty roach infested place if I let you keep doing. It's only when you face correction you change. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you have been getting away with nefarious deeds and bad, malicious deeds, and no one holds you to the table and holds your feet to the fire, you will get worse. Because now it is your default.
Definitely. So let's go back to that. So for those of you guys that don't know, these details were very surprising to me. So from what I understand, once the shooting happened, right? Shyne, J-Lo, Diddy, and Wolf all jumped into a car that was owned by Bad Boy Music. They had a driver. They rushed through. They ran almost 20 red lights. There were reports that it was 11, but they ran 20 blocks and it was red light. If anybody's ever been in New York, you know that if you miss one red light, it's red light. So there's no way you can run a red light and then get a few green. It's red light, red light, red light. They over 20 blocks. Now, Diddy tried to bribe the driver by saying, I'll give you 50,000. The driver should have held out for more. By saying, I'll give you 50,000. And he gave his pinky ring worth of 40,000 as collateral. And then later on, he did pay him 50,000. Fortunately, the driver in the criminal trial actually said that Diddy offered to bribe him, and he told the truth. On top of that, there were actually 3 bang bangs on the scene. One Shyne had. One was on the floor of the car, but also there was a third bang bang that was recovered that the police heard get thrown out of the car.
I saw, and one of the police said it looked like a woman's hand. That's what a cop did back then.
And the funny thing is about it looked like a woman's hand. There's Wolf, there's Shyne, there's Diddy, there's J-Lo. 3, Wolf and Shyne are probably the same complexion, but 3 very different complexions. Diddy, Wolf and Shyne, and J-Lo. They said they saw a hand throw it out. It looked like a woman's hand, but they highly implied it was J-Lo because J-Lo was paler than everyone. So you have the
only woman on the scene.
The only woman on the scene, a different complexion, and they see it thrown out. Now, again, there's 3 men, right? There's 3 guns, unless they got Shyne or somebody in there like Wyatt Earp just strapped up, ready. So it makes sense. There's 3. In the trial, they tried to say that Diddy arrived through with a different vehicle, right? So, okay, so let me just rewind. So oddly enough, when I actually looked into this case, it was actually very, very interesting in the fact that Diddy's lawyer, back then, I think it was Benjamin Braffman. He was a big mob lawyer. He represented Sammy the Bull, I believe. He actually gave the same defense that Diddy's using now. 1, he didn't do anything. Everything's a lie. Everything's a lie. And you and the 5 other people that were suing Diddy, it was nothing but a shameless money grab through a civil trial. It's actually eerie the way the language is just so parallel to now. You would think it was cut and paste. He said Diddy couldn't have done it because he arrived in a different vehicle. Now, the driver to the vehicle was like, that's weird because I brought him there. Another person said, what are you talking about? He was in the same vehicle. But more importantly, like a lot of people said, what does it matter if you came in a different vehicle? That means 100% that gun was yours, because how did the third gun get into the car? Interestingly,
Wardell Thunderson, the driver, who was a fill-in driver, said, I saw him with the gun before. He said it in the trial.
Yes. So it was go. Diddy called, it was also brought up in the trial that Diddy called 2 of the witnesses against him and harassed them. Literally tried to make sure they didn't show up and harassed them. In my words, I think it sounds like he was threatening him. But again, for some reason, it didn't make a thing. This feeds into why people think that Diddy is or was some type of Fed informant, because how, in what world, especially back then in hip hop, they were trying to lock every rapper up. The fact that Diddy was so high profile and he was just being able, people are saying that Diddy actually cut a deal to do whatever And this is how it got away. On top of that, both witnesses that he tried to call and harass, bribe, whatever you want to call it, they both said that they saw Diddy with the gun, and they know that. Oh, and they also called 2 other times outside of this trial that Diddy had been caught with guns to show that he had a proclivity for guns. On top of that, Shyne actually said that Scar, the man that this smacking Diddy with the money, it all started, Scar and Shyne were not only friends, but Scar used to work for Shyne because Shyne said he
nonsense.
No, tell me.
He said that, but that's nonsense.
Shyne. Okay, tell me why that's nonsense.
Shyne was a young cat. Scar was a big ninja.
Okay.
Large ninja in the town. Everybody knew.
Okay.
Shyne, I heard that lie. Shyne ain't send this dude on no missions. Trust him. Okay. This dude was not to be messed with. He walked in a room and people were shooketh. People used to be like, yo, Em, why do you speak to him? He was, now you know how there's duality in all things.
True.
You can have somebody who is thuggish, ruggish bone with a heart of gold. People are a microcosm and a macrocosm of what their environment and circumstances created. Mm-hmm. He would come to my shop. His mother lived across the street from our beauty salon. He would come to my shop and have some of the most profound conversations, deep, profound conversations. And I said, oh, look at you getting all emotional and stuff. And he was like, nah, Ev, I can talk to you in a way that I can't talk to nobody else. Because people used to be like, he would come through and sometimes people would not come in the shop if he was there.
Oh, wow.
Shyne was not sending him on no missions. I put everything on that.
So Shyne is, so this is a complicated thing because you bring up a good point.
He's a mess.
He's a mess. And he's not above leveraging situations to try to make himself look big or embiggen. Again, he is a politician in the worst way to his heart. He's a politician. So about with Scar, also there was a certain situation where he was supposed to maybe be paid off for $250K, but he didn't go and pick it up because
they were trying to bribe him, telling him, and I don't think there was ever a sincere attempt to give him the money. I think they tried to give him the money to silence him, but it was just a ruse to get him there to kill him.
Okay. Again, why are we bringing this up? Because it's like to act like Diddy was just a street producer, a producer that came up off the streets and all of a sudden all this stuff is happening. Diddy's hands seem to be deep. Again, there's credible hits out on your head, on Scar's head, who actually ended up deleted, on Wolf's head. The funny thing is, the only person that had motivation in my mind to do this would be the person on trial. Shyne got sent to jail. Wolf wasn't even on trial. Diddy was the only one that would have motivation, hired heavy-hitting mob lawyers, basically did what he did now. And I bring this up to say, a lot of people are like, yo, like, why, like, how could Diddy be so arrogant to think he's going to get out of this? Well, I would say to them, because he's done it before. He got into a trial, 3 guns, 2 men. It wasn't Wolf. He got acquitted. Shyne was the only person. Over and over and over, there is a habit that Diddy gets in these situations where it took outside looking in. He looks guilty as all sin, but he somehow walks away. I think he thought the Cassie case would be the same thing. I settle. I say everybody else is just a shameless money grab. I'll pay my little minions to plant things on Twitter and the blogs and this and that. Because Natania, as you've seen, and it's very, very sad, I always knew. And I was just talking to my friend about this the other day. I say this a lot. You always hear stories about, like, the Chronicles of Narnia, when Edward sold his whole family out for some Turkish delights. And I remember being little and being like, how delicious are Turkish delights that you selling your family out? And when I first had a Turkish delight, I was like, ain't no way. But I think now, and then once I had my first Turkish delight, and yes, I was grown when I had my first Turkish delight in Turkey, as a matter of fact. And it made me realize, oh, that was just an allegory. Because a Turkish delight is nothing. I would never. Yeah. But the fact that people will sell everything out for just a few pennies. And it shocks me. And with Diddy, how many people will lie, connive, sacrifice their morals, sacrifice even their freedom, not even for money, but just to be around money.
Adjacency. People want to be adjacent to power. People want to be to celebrity. People want to be adjacent to anything that has notoriety in the world. I think it circles down to how insecure and unvaluable people feel in their lives, that they feel like if only I stand close to this person, then I'll see better, look better, be more desirable. It's a shame. And the odd, dichotomy is that people always want to get rid of, it's like that old cliche, tying up loose ends. Everybody drops because you're tying up loose ends. You don't want anybody around who may turn one day and tell what really happened.
That's true. Really quick, Buddha Lion says, Natania, you're such a beautiful woman. I'm in awe of your strength and faith in the Lord. May he continue to bless you every day. Much love to you and your family. That's beautiful, Buddha Lion. Marla Everett said, Tisa, you're the GOAT. Oh, capping me up. Thank you. Thank you. Rue, thanks so much for the super sticker. Cybertime Entertainment, thank you for gifting. You guys, say thank you to Cybertime Entertainment for gifting a membership. Lori Thompson, thank you so much for the super sticker. LF, thank you so much for the super sticker. Also, Miss Goddess K, love you right back. Potent Pondering, hey, what's up? And also, Wanda, thank you for being the first person to actually donate. There's a few other questions. Paula Barnes, thank you so much for the super sticker. Also, Mel Bethel said, first blessings to you, Natania. She said, TT, I'm inspired by your diligence and for providing a platform for victims of itty-bitty ditties and his proxies' criminal behaviors. I gotta tell you, though, Natania's story was particularly gripping, and I was actually really moved by how much you hold to your faith and the larger meaning. And it's very easy when bad things happen to go into a hole of darkness, and I think that's normal. But to make that harden you, to be like, well, F everybody, I'm not helping anybody. Like, please, didn't nobody care when I was in my dark side? The fact that you went through that, the dark times you have to go through in order to burn it from your spirit. It's like fire. It burns what you thought, and you are, like you said, reborn anew. But I was always inspired at the way that you always, like, you kept building, but you kept a sense of like that childlike innocence and love for the next person, which I think that's the hardest thing to do, not to be like, okay, let's F everyone. Call Me Emmy said, thank you for coming forward and speaking your truth over the years and for the courage you displays. We support you. What can we do to help?
First and foremost, thank you so much. Honestly, I don't know what to say when people ask me that, honestly. So thank you all for everybody's comments and support. I appreciate that. For first and foremost, Tisa, I've always been this. I've never been a grudge holder. I do not hold a grudge. Listen, I don't even hold a grudge now. I will collect and gather somebody and make them be accountable. But I don't hold a grudge. I don't think that's what God called me here to do. A very poignant point in that, when I was laying in the bed after the surgery. So a hollow point bullet, for those who don't know, is called a cop deleter on the streets. That's the name for it. The reason being is that once it hits your bone or hits inside your body, it tears apart into multiple pieces. So this thing shattered into multiple pieces. I have a massive chunk right here, and it could not be removed because to my optic nerve, and then I have a bunch here, but also one went through and scarred my cerebral cortex, and that's what made me to have a seizure disorder. So I have a whole medical illnesses. I'm talking swelling of the brain, seizure disorder, severe migraines like you would not believe. I lost a tooth on this side because I have a fragment over here too. And that fragment was leaning a few years ago on, I just started having this swelling in my face and this incredible pain where I didn't want the lights on. I didn't want anybody to talk to me. It was that painful. And I was doubled over in pain. My son had to rush me to the hospital, and they gave me morphine. And when they realized that the bullet fragment was now leaning on a nerve up here in my teeth, and they had to go in and do a pulpectomy and take all the nerve out just so I could sustain. And that, because when all of the meat of your tooth is taken out, the tooth is weak. So I've had a whole lot of problems. I had a phenomenal row of teeth when this happened, but it happens that things shift. So I've had so many issues. I've had to be in therapy by the grace of God. Thank God for. I walk in faith. I stand in faith. I am clearly God's miracle. It
Yeah.
took until my daughter was probably in the 5th grade, and she had it was a teacher work day, and she was home one day, and we were sitting in the bed watching TV, and we were watching Good Morning America, and they showed Malala Yousafzai, and my daughter said, "Oh, Malala," and I said, "You know who Malala is?" And she's like, "Come on, mommy, I'm a big girl. I know who Malala is." And I'm like, "You know what Malala and mommy have in common?" And she instantly, my family's from Trinidad, so she turned around and said, "Is she from Trinidad?" And I was like, "No." But I felt like God just told me to speak to her. And I said, we both got banged in the face. And she just held me tight. And I
Oh.
crying inconsolably.
Uh,
I promise you, my daughter held me tight and said, "You're special, Mom." And here's the deal. When she was telling me, "You're special, mommy, you're a miracle," so was a voice in my head saying, "You're a miracle." And
oh.
it was like, her strength kept me.
Yeah.
She said, how many people survived that, mommy? And like, what? And it never occurred to me in all those years to ever look up. So I decided to Google it. And it said, of all people shot in the head, or banged in the head, only 5% survive. And
What?
only 2% have
Wow.
abilities. So when I had to have a very therapeutic cry that day. When I see things like that, and when I learn things like that, I understand that God saving me was for a reason. And it is my sincere belief that it was for such a time as this. There is, in all that I've said to you, there is so much more. There was a 2017 and 2018, I had so many flat tires. I said, these people trying to take me out. Like, I'm talking
Why don't you tell me about that?
yeah, blowouts on the highway. Like, it didn't make sense. I had the ultimate driving machine. Ain't no way you could get that many flat tires without. And one of the guys said, "Is somebody messing with you? You got a baby daddy that don't like you or something?" And I was like, wow. Like,
Who do you think was doing that with the flat tires?
I'm certain who was doing it. Nobody can tell me otherwise. He has minions who do his deeds. Listen, I go to my grave. I will always believe this. No one can tell me otherwise. There's no reason. I don't live a life that has all of this craziness and chaos. I don't. So there was no reason for this to keep happening. And it happened on the same tire. So that's a mess.
I heard that
Different tire.
I heard that back then, Diddy had been in a lot of stuff over the years, and he was able to evade it. And you were the only person, God's miracle, 5%, but you were for over a couple of decades, the only person that actually had the gumption to not just hold him accountable, but also the gumption that you got a settlement, and a huge settlement. And he was furious about that and never got over that ever.
So I was the only person to successfully sue him and get paid out of his pocket and live to tell about it. He had to pay me out of his pocket, not an insurance company. Most people that have been harmed by him and got a settlement got a insurance payment. At the time, he dragged out our settlement thing for so long. It was 12 years later that we finally settled. So a lot of people don't know it was just 12 years. And
so that's why it was happening.
The City College people was 12 years as well. It was trying to break me or ruin my life so that there was no payout, because his insurance company refused to pay and then filed bankruptcy and went belly up. He had to pay. He has never gotten over that. It's one thing because you hear these stories where he's like, he don't pay for nothing and he's cheap, and it never sat well with him. And I'm telling you, I know for a fact the foolishness that would happen to my life. I could take my kids to a restaurant, pull out my card, declined, pull out my next card, declined, go in my checking account and cash out money to my son, the same money in the card that was declined, and he could pay for it. Like, it happens all the time. If I make a live, when this first came out and I made that live, girl, I was sitting at the gas station, couldn't even log into my bank. Telling people since 2016, I'm like, yo, somebody's hacking me. Somebody's hacking me. My girlfriend's, and I only found out because of this time, that most of my girlfriends, the ones, they didn't believe me. I didn't even know. I think I was more hurt because of that.
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, girl, we just thought you was exaggerating, and why ain't thinking about you?" And because you can't understand the mind of a madman. You are not him. You don't
And we
have.
know now. Yeah, he's sadistic.
People can see now the lengths that he goes to. But at the
Mm-hmm.
time, I didn't even know. They didn't believe me. They was like, "Oh, girl, for real? Oh man, I just messed up." They
I
came
know you was
the
like,
fact like, girl, he was telling the truth. I said, "What? What do you, what do I have to lie for? I'm not a lie." Listen, I used to say something when I was in my mama house. I'm too fly to lie. I tell on
mm,
any. I'm not. Listen, I don't live thug culture, gang culture where there's no snitching. Y'all could go over there and be, "Hey, you snitching if you want to." That culture goes for thugs. Only thugs.
yeah,
No snitching means you are in that corrupt gang culture and you are telling.
yes,
You do dirt and you're telling on your people. That don't. It doesn't equate to regular people. If you harm me or somebody in my community, my tribe, my village, I'm telling, and I don't care what you think. I only
yeah.
answer to God Almighty. I answer to the Most High. You think I'm concerned with what man thinks? If I'm concerned with what man thinks, I would have been a shell of a woman or gone, a dusty picture on a bookshelf by now. I
That
ain't
is
scared.
so true.
Everybody that was scared, I have never been scared of him. Now, I have been in fear of my safety as it pertains to what's going to happen to my kids if I'm not here. But just walking
Mm.
there, I serve an on-time God. And he may take 2 years, 2 minutes, or 24 years for you to get your recompense. But baby,
Oh, it's
it gonna
here.
happen.
It's here. As a matter of fact, it's here. It's so funny him going back to mob lawyers right now. He's added on Mark Garagos, and I forget the lawyer's name, but his last name is Tremonti, and he is one of the biggest gangland RICO charged lawyers. Apparently, it's money laundering, it is rug trafficking, blankual trafficking, and also RICO charges. Why are those RICO charges so important? Because with RICO charges, the way they go with a conspiracy, until you actually say, "I'm done," right? The conspiracy goes on and on and on. They did this to actually find a way to make like different Italian mafia and the Jewish mafia how to grab them. Why is that so important? Because if he was laundering money back in 1999, even if he's, and that was for BMF, even if he switched over to laundering money for the cartel, they will say this is all money laundering. You're in a criminal enterprise, and they can go all the way back to 1995 and tie it all together as money laundering and convict him for money laundering for over 24 years, even though he might have been washing money for different organizations. Again, when Natania says that God has arrived and he is literally holding him accountable for everything. He definitely is. Really quick, Virginia Martinez, thank you so much for the super chat. Yes, thank you so much for becoming a member. Also, you guys, show some love to Uncle Gene Dill. He is in the chat right now, showing Natania some love and showing everybody support. Also, if you guys have not checked out Uncle Gene Dill's channel on YouTube, you got to go. And don't forget to check out his book. He's working on the second one, but his book, I have it. It is a fantastic, fantastic book. And I know you think you know everything he said from the interviews, but I'm telling you, who goes into detail in the book. Really quick, Virginia Martinez says, both of you have courage. I just have a mouth. Natania got courage. Even the courage it takes a lot not to want to see your enemy's blood flow through the streets. I'm like with the Old Testament God, like, let's get these locusts cracking. Let's pour blood through the streets. Let's make them fear for their lives. We take out the whole bloodline. But it takes a lot. It honestly does take a lot of courage not to literally succumb to that and trust in the higher power. And 24 years of trusting in the higher power that his comeuppance is here. And actually just trusting what the universe got, whatever you believe in, what they had in store. Because honestly, yourself included, a lot of people were hurt over these last 20. A lot of people passed away. But this downfall is biblical. And again, it's funny to me. They're using the same things. A black man. The evil has no skin color. I don't care if you look like me or not. Everybody, well, they're not doing anything to the white men. Okay, well, bring the white men's names forward. We will take them down too. Let's get everybody off the street instead of protecting.
I think that's a dirty narrative that gets infused into it, and it's done for a reason. That narrative gets infused into it because it's people that haven't cleaned up their own act in their own personal lives. They can't hold people that's doing the same thing they do and accountable. So they will infuse and interject those things. Oh, always trying to take good black man down. What is good black man doing? Like I said, there's duality in people.
That's what I said.
They doing raggedy stuff in their own lives, and so they will not find someone or hold someone feet to the fire because they don't want their own stuff to come out.
Listen,
Jeffrey Epulator and Weinstein are lily white
and gone.
So
yes,
what makes him, and why are we so comfortable allowing predators in our community, amongst our children, amongst our daughters, amongst our sons? Why are we so comfortable with that? We got to stop that.
You know what? That's a good point. I mean, when I first started reporting on Diddy, I had people being like, oh, you better be quiet. I just know God's going to take you down. Listen, I'm not without fault. Somebody might come home, be like, yeah, Tisa was being an a-hole at the Taco Bell window at 2 a.m. in the morning. Yes, I'll ask for 2 crunch wraps and a burrito, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, you ain't never going to hear anything weird like that. Like, are you serious? There's a difference between, like you said, people just being human and being fallible. Right?
Well, if people
got a bad day.
If people have a problem with you speaking truth to power, they need to check themselves.
Exactly.
People with, YouTubers and bloggers reporting stories. If you didn't do the mess, there'd be nothing to report.
Exactly. It's like
very profoundly. Remember, when a lot of people overlooked this, and I knew Kanye was talking about me. Shout out to the Gemini crew. Shout out. Kanye said on Drink Champs, when he was like, let me say it nice, F y'all, that's why you out in the club. They pulled your tail and told you to pull me. That's why you in the club. Blah, 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 blah. He was talking about my case.
Oh, wow.
Like, not been able to escape this for 24 years. I mean, there was a Law and Order episode, okay? Yeah. And by the grace of God, the creators of Law and Order had the respect to reach out to the DA and contact me to see what I felt about it. And I told them, just don't make me the focus of it, because at the time, it wasn't that long after I got pow-powed, and it was just too much stress in my life.
Gotcha.
And so I didn't want it to be me, but they had the wherewithal to do it. Everybody's not so kind. I went viral in, I believe it was 2015 or something. I didn't even know what viral was. There was a YouTube channel up north trips or something like that, and they made a post like, oh, today in history, poor Puffy and J-Lo had to endure this terrible thing.
What?
And I had just been cleaning up my room, cleaning my room, taking a strip in my bed, doing vacuuming, all that stuff. And I just happened to lay down and rest for a second, and I see this thing, and I wrote a comment, and I was like, how dare you? People were injured. Me and 2 other people got pow-powed. Why would you have such little regard for us? Are we any less valuable? I said that in the press conference when I first got pow-powed. I said it now. Am I any less valuable because I'm not notable? Why do I have to take the end of the stick because I'm not notable? This thing has impacted my life in a way. I had dreams and aspirations as well that have not been able to be actualized because I was a singer. No one's going to give me a record deal when this cat is running big with all the bigwigs. Nor would I want to be a part of that industry afterwards. But I had things that I actualized that couldn't be lived out. And a point I was making before with the doctor came to my room and said, I needed to come in here and check on you. What's going on? And so my family and everybody was in there, and they were talking. A couple of people were upset, like this shouldn't have happened to her. And I was in such good spirits. And he said, hey, you're in such good spirits when not only when the nurses told me you were awake, but when they told me that you were talking, I needed to see for myself. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, the path that the bullet took in your head, you should not be awake. He said, when they said you were in here laughing and talking, I need to see for myself. And he said, listen, I've been a man of science. I'm not a man of religion. I'm just a man of science. That's who I am. I don't knock anybody else's thing. He said, but I know today that there is a God, because the path that the bullet took in your head, you shouldn't be talking. So you. That resonated with me. I said, he said, and then you're in such good spirits. I said, listen, they have a right to be upset if they want. That's my loved ones. Those are my girlfriends. That's my mom. Those are my people. They can be upset, but who am I to be upset? I'm here. I hit the jack. What would I look like sitting in the bed frowning after I survived such a cataclysmic event? That's not me. I'm not a grudge holder. I'm so not a grudge holder that and I've said this before, you want recompense, you want to start doing right. How about start cleaning up your act now? Start donating money to this domestic violence facilities. I know they ain't gonna want your face up in the place because people need to go through what they heal from what they saw you do. But start going and donating to causes of the things you tore down. Put your money where your mouth is and build those things back up. I started filming a docuseries called Shot. He wants some recompense. I will sit down with him because I would like him to face me. See, that's what guilty people do. I would absolutely. I don't hold grudges. We all play a role.
What would you say to him?
You owe me an apology first and foremost. And I want my apology. Look me in my eye. You've been lying to everybody for 24 years. Look me in my eye and tell me you ain't do it. Look me in my eye and say you didn't do it. And I'll say, you want to start recovering? I don't hold grudges. It's not for me to forgive you. It's for the Most High God to forgive you. If you have any connection, because I'm not religious, I'm spiritual.
Okay.
You need to pay accountability. If you want to be 100% meticulous, Shyne still owes me money.
What do you mean? He owes you money?
Settlement. And that's why he's trying to do this whole thing. He still owes me money. And I don't know.
Wait. So Shyne had to settle with you too?
Yes. And he still owes me money.
I didn't know that. He never paid you.
I might get into a problem because I said that. And if I do, whatever. Listen, the only person that could put me in trouble is God and my mama. And my mama ain't mad at me, so I ain't worried about nobody else.
Listen, and you shouldn't be. And we'll cut that part out. So
and even at this point, because I'm about holding people's feet to the fire. I don't need to be angry with you and hold a grudge, but I want you to be accountable for what you did. Right is right and wrong is wrong. We grown, and then the people that try to do this whole, oh, she's on a money grab. I'm not on a money grab because I would have aired him out a long time ago if I was on a money grab. The whole point is which one of your family members, what price is okay for your family member to get pow-powed in the face? And which one of your members of your family? So what is people talking about? This whole, when you file a civil litigation, you're on a money grab. The United States of America gave 2 lines of seeking remedy when someone harms you. When you are harmed by someone, there is a criminal capacity that is handled by the state. It don't say Pookie against Man. It says the state of New York against Pookie.
Yeah.
It don't say, so that's out of your hands. The only recourse you have is your legal, your civil remedy. And that is where you seek a money judgment. Those are the 2 lanes that have been created in this country to seek relief for someone who have wronged you. I'm tired of people you're not going to gaslight me, first of all. You ain't going to gaslight me. Because what do you think the cost is of getting shot in the head? Do you know the price of, what's the value of my son coming home from school and finding me in a seizure and my little baby daughter on the bed, just there trying to grab for her bottle because I'm stuck in a seizure, coming home so angry, punching a hole in the wall because he's a teenage boy and his mom is having another seizure. What is the price for my oldest son having to put on like a sleep mask and hold me up in the shower so I can bathe, so he doesn't have to look at his mother's breasts and his mother's body because I couldn't hold myself up, but I needed to bathe. What is the price for that? So all of these nasty people with their, it's a talking about Cassie, talking about this one. Oh, she on a money grab. What is the value of a life? Who are you to tell her what she should do? She can't bring a action from the state. The state got to bring. This is a classic David and Goliath story. Cassie rounded up her sling. She went and minded her business. She went and married her husband and had 2 children and was living her quiet life. But he had to go on award shows and keep shout out to Cassie because people love to poke the bear. Don't be mad at a big bears. If you're going to stick me with a stick all the time, when I rip your face off, don't be mad. What you mad for? You empowered this woman to get her sling and her stone and draw back and tekoteai.
Yeah.
What you mad for? You brought
Yeah.
it on yourself. All you had to do was leave her alone. She took the indignity of those beatings, of the violence, of all of those filthy, disgusting, reprehensible things, and she swallowed it, and she was able to heal and move on through her journey of healing and open herself up and be vulnerable enough to let someone love her. But you couldn't leave it alone.
Yeah.
So you
You
get
didn't
what
want
your hand
to.
called for. You know what the hood say? You get what your hand called for. Your hand
Yeah.
called for that stone in your eye.
Yeah.
Now you got to pay your way. This is the
And
world.
that's a good thing. But also to the point of with civil trials, and I want to get more into these super chats, but the putting of civil trials, I don't think people, the minds of the rich and powerful, they just work differently. I'm not talking about like, people like us, you work hard, you
Mm-hmm.
get money, you can provide. I mean, when you truly get wealthy, for somebody like Diddy, the only thing that matters is power, respect, and money. His
Mm-hmm.
image, power, and money. That's why he kept poking Cassie and you and everyone because he gets off on it. Not
Mm-hmm.
only did I do it, but I'm going to delight and
Mm-hmm.
smacking you in public and ain't nothing you can do.
Yep.
Right? So he was asking for it, but I don't think people realize there is no for someone to be like, can I keep my millions, or be like, I saw they'll get there and give a fake apology and then come back and be like, oh, I already never meant it. That is the only way to hurt the very, very wealthy. And the American judicial system understood that. You take away their money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that trial, it takes away their respect. And if one of those goes, their power diminishes just a little bit. That is the way you get vengeance on somebody truly powerful. I know you are a godly woman, you pray, but when it comes to demons, it's like, no, you need to throw holy water on them too, right? But
Mm-hmm.
really quick, I want to say to Erica Bouquet, thank you so much for becoming a member. Also, Sun, for being a member for 2 months, said, thanks for speaking out. There's always been an undercurrent of violence with Diddler. It was just downplayed in the media and the community. People were pressured, they were silenced, and like you said, they were 100% complicit. Angeline Alexander said, the next Wendy Williams. Thank you. Yes. Says, Natania, God bless your soul. You are super strong and amazing. Thank you for exposing itty bitty Diddy. We call him itty bitty Diddy because all the lawsuits keep saying like he was itty bitty, like adolescence. Yaz said, Tisa, wow, I had to subscribe after this. Thank you so much, Yaz. And you guys, please send a lot of love and healing energy to Natania for her even coming out and having the courage not just to speak, because you will roar in a lion's face, but also just to even relive this with us. It takes a lot of courage to go back there and stand in that storm of those powerful emotions and realize this happened to me. This is not me, and still keep yourself through this. So I really thank you. Virginia Martinez says, as a Mexicana, I'm embarrassed. I think she's talking about J-Lo. Also, Taniki Brown, what's up, Taniki? Said, hi, blessed Sunday. You're doing a phenomenal job. Both of y'all ladies deserve flowers. A dog bows their head when they are wrong, but a snake will always look you in the eye. God bless. Sylvia S says, J-Lo's karma may be reaping in failed relationships. Sun says, silence is consent protection to you, Natania. Afro Butterfly says, beautiful Natania, you've offered up the bullet fragments in your face for testing since day one. Why didn't they do more through ballistics? Why do you think that is?
So here's the deal. They did do ballistics. Don't believe Shyne. Ballistics was done in that trial. It was
Shyne
done.
is a liar.
He's
tell us the truth.
And that's what bothers me about him, because like I said, I watched his meteoric rise when he became a community activist and all those things and helping his community. I said, oh, good, there's redemption there. I'm proud of him. He's turned into an unrepentant liar. Like, he's of the, orange Cheeto ilk. He's of the Trump politicians. Say whatever, deny and deflect, and just say whatever you got to say to get your advantage. But he didn't create this narrative. He watched people successfully do it, and now he's taking hold to it.
Okay.
And it's just unfortunate, but yeah, that's what it is.
So Shyne. Okay, so if you guys don't know, because I did a lot of research on this, and talking to Natania made me realize, like, Shyne, literally, politician, two-faced. He'll say whatever he needs to do. Shyne said that they did They didn't do ballistics testing,
They
right?
did.
So they did ballistics testing, but from what I understand, they said it was inconclusive because all the guns were the same type of guns. But can't they tell from ballistics what bullet?
Well, they did say that they did find from my best memory, they also found a 40, if I believe it was a 40 caliber shell as well.
Okay.
So, I don't think they ever reclaimed that gun, but they did,
Okay.
they did ballistics. A portion of, like I said, a portion of the bullet, the surgeon did that surgery. They had to slice me from the front of my, like right under my lip, behind my teeth, all the way down my throat. I had a
Oh my
massive
God.
in the roof of my mouth all the way down. It was atrocious, a huge scar. They took out a portion of the bullet. I have 9 bullet fragments remaining, but there was ballistics. There was bullet fragments to be a plus. Julius Jones got pow-powed in the shoulder, and I believe they were able to take ballistics from his thing as well, his injury as well. I don't know how much, but ballistics were done. So all of these narratives. Now, people can, let's do a FOIA. We could do a Freedom of Information Act and get all of the information from the trial. The stuff is in the trial.
Put
They are
that on my
what they're doing
list.
is enjoying the distance and time. Distance and time will make anything seem like, a myth and a shadow. But
Yeah.
all exist in the record. He likes to spit out narratives because he thinks who's going to really go and pull it up.
Mm-hmm.
That ballistics was absolutely done, and don't believe a lot of what.
Okay, we will not believe a lot of anything Shyne says. He is a liar. Gator Girl 94, thank you so much for the super chat. Taniki Brown said, Tisa, I just need a t-shirt on T-Hive Appreciation Day, your favorite nurse here. And shout out to Taniki, and also all the nurses out there holding it down. Also, Fatima Durham said, listen, as my mother would say, you leave the ignorance to the damn fools themselves. Some people are just ignorant and they can't come to the cookout. You know the truth and we believe you, Natania. Exactly. Anybody with sense would, Natania not only has the facts, but there's truth in the words and the energy in when you're talking. Anybody that wants to hide behind that narrative, like you said, why are we comfortable with abusers among us? Like, no, pick a different struggle. Cynthia, thank you so much for the super chat. Also, Tessa, thank you so much for the super sticker. Vita said, when you testify, why didn't they believe you?
So here's the deal. I hear a lot of people say about Cassie, why didn't she speak up? Why is she waiting out? Or any women that come out and say they were raped or anything. People will lambaste them. Why didn't you speak then? Well, guess what? I spoke then and nothing happened. I spoke. Truth to power, sang it from the rooftops, told everybody. Everybody in New York was talking about it. Everybody in New York was talking. They all knew. A lot of people testified to the grand jury first when they were questioned. And then when by the time it got to the trial, they changed their topics. They changed their comments. They even had to designate some people as, what's the term?
Hostile
witnesses, because they gave too much time when they had to do their investigation for people between the investigation and the actual trial, and people were paid off or whatever. People saw what this man was doing. It was widely known in New York what this man was about, what he was doing, and what he was getting away with. Nobody wants to get trampled and be a dusty picture on a shelf because you decided to go speak up. I spoke up and I didn't get any relief. It's 24 years later. So what about people who don't speak up? It's hard to fight a giant. Thank God I've never been afraid, but it's hard to fight a giant. It's not okay to re-victimize victims by saying, why didn't you speak up, this, that, that. It's not okay to do.
Interestingly enough, though, you guys, you have to realize his legal team was an all-star legal team. You know, Johnny Cochran was one of his lawyers. He had the lawyer for Tremont, which is Ben Bradford, which is the top mob guy. And Johnny Cochran, interestingly enough, he tried to make everybody else seem like a liar. And you're the only one that on cross-examination, even Johnny Cochran was like, we're going to sit this one out. So
he literally questioned me for hours, and he went over and tapped Ben Bradford and said, you try.
Yeah. They could not take you. They could not discredit you. They could not twist you around. So the point of why didn't they believe the legal system
It's
is very
respectability.
funny.
He
It
had
is.
power, influence, money, and if what is alleged is correct, a connection to the feds. Who can overthrow that? This was a classic
Exactly.
bias story. It might have took 24 years, but baby, I got a pocket full of stones, and the band on this sling, tight, like a
Very
surgeon.
tight. Very tight. Really quick, I also want to say, Atasham 27, sorry, 27 said, Natania, thank you for your courage and strength. You are truly an amazing woman. We stand with you. God bless you and your family. Mel Betham said, this is very emotional, Tanya. Not many have your strength. I would also like to support you however I can. You guys, really quick, I'm going to get into some different ways that you can support Natania, and also the way Natania can actually help you guys out too. Call Me Emmy. Everybody say thank you to Call Me Emmy for gifting 10 memberships. Eileen Bell, thank you so much for becoming a member. Also, Gator Girl 194 said, thank you for bringing this to us, Natania. Thank you for your courage, and may God continue to bless you. What is the medal you picked up? The medal you picked up?
What medal?
Well, maybe it's I don't know. Maybe she's talking about the medal in the.
Well, I have lead in my face, so that's one of the things. I have to live the rest of my life with lead bullets in my body, and in all accounts, if you look at the history of what lead does inside of the human body, it can create
poison you.
Alzheimer's. It can poison you, but create an Alzheimer's type effect where you lose your cognition.
No.
Which is why I stay so sharp. Which is why I make sure that I stay. I mean, I've always been the SAT chick, but I'm big on vocabulary. When I was little, like I said, I was a little rebel rouser. And so my mother realized very early that, whipping my behind ain't mean nothing to me. It didn't mean anything to me. So my mother would literally go get the dictionary and say, you better read the first three. She would pick a random page and say, you better know the first three pages of the letter R. When I come and ask you what any word means, you better know it. My vocabulary is extensive. So that should tell you how much stuff I got into.
You say, but again, it's not without lasting consequences.
It has lasting consequences to it, and medical issues and things of that nature. So I'm trying to just be the best person I can, live the best life. I've always done that. I wrote a children's book with my daughter called Nirvana Socks. It's on Amazon. It's about a precocious little 8-year-old girl who has an obsession with socks. I'm a life insurance agent. My husband, God rest his soul. Well, you see this DITR. This is from my company. I have a boutique reupholstery agency. It's called Diamond in the Rough, because I knew I was a diamond in the rough. And the purpose of Diamond in the Rough is I had the ability to break furniture down to its former glory, like break it down to the studs and rebuild it and create the most beautiful pieces. And it was cathartic for me. But I didn't know the whole time that I was breaking myself down every time I broke down a chair and rebuilding myself.
Really quickly, you guys, I don't mean to interrupt you, Natania, but this is very important. We'll talk about this in detail, but she does have life insurance policies. Her husband, sadly enough, passed away. And when he passed away, she was not prepared. And we'll get into that story a little later. But however, 404, I know she doesn't want me to promote, but I listen to them anyway. 404-662-9547. That is for her. I'm calling her Natania, but Ebony G. 404-662-9547. Life insurance. She is currently located in the Atlanta area. I'll let her tell you about that in a moment, but she is doing a lot of big things. I also just want to do this just to give her flowers as to how courageous and even rebuilding your life, even though your life has been changed, your body has been changed, your mind has been changed. She was, of course, a very talented singer, songwriter. Elle Swift, How's It Going Down, featuring Ebony. She was responsible for, Shyne had talent, but she put him on wax and treated him with so much compassion and just, love thy neighbor. She does insurance policies or to get a living trust. Again, like she explained, and as Black people, especially, but if you're any woman, especially the Black community, the one thing that we have been so hard is to find ways to pass down wealth. And one of the biggest ways to pass down wealth actually is through living trust and through life insurance. If you are curious, if you want more information, or if you know somebody, pass Natania's information over. Also, let me get to the book. I found some stuff on the book. 1 second. Let's just get through this. You know, my PowerPoints. Welcome to my channel, y'all. These PowerPoints never flip the way they're supposed to. You had, this is Ebony's, the beauty salon you actually had, where Scar would come and have philosophical conversations with you. I always say, if somebody is very high in whatever they choose, whether it's legal or illegal activities, there's always a deep, deep vein of intelligence that goes to it. But you had a thriving beauty salon as a young, beautiful girl.
I had 2 back then. So that was the one that was right next door to Urban, Uncle Ralph's Urban Gear on Bedford Avenue, Brooklyn. And then I had one on Washington Avenue too. So the one on Washington is the one Scar used to come to, but I had 2 salons at the time.
You had 2 salons. Again, back then, for a young woman to have 2 salons, that just told you the grind, the hustle, and the focus. This, I think, is actually really beautiful. I'm a big believer in books. If you guys know any children, Nirvana Socks, it's such a cute children's book. It is on Amazon. Please, it'd be great to purchase as a gift. If you guys, I purchase books all the time and donate them to school libraries and local libraries. Nirvana Socks is a beautiful, beautiful book on Amazon if you can. And it's just so cute. And again, I'm all for seeing representation in books. When I was little, my mom went out of her way to make sure, and back then there were hardly any because it was hard to self-publish, to find books where you actually are reflected back, because it makes a difference. The same way having dolls and toys that reflect back. Also, this is having my say, right? How
that
mother
was my talk radio show when I used to have a Black talk radio show here in the Atlanta area. And it was called Having My Say. That's why I always say hashtag having my say.
Hashtag having me say, yeah, yes, we went deep in research. That is young Ebony, gorgeous, still gorgeous now. And also, let's talk medical cannabis making the difference. This is something, actually, it's amazing how what you go through can help open your mind. Because if you guys don't know, medical cannabis has been a way for people dealing with seizures, pain, and PTSD as a way forward. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so they were, of course, multiple states were trying to legalize marijuana. And in Georgia, it is legalized for medical use, but not for recreational use. However, many people that suffer from all types of illnesses, cancer, just traumatic things to their body, they have found that the cannabinoids in marijuana offer them a relief, and a relief, freedom from pain, without all of the destruction body can deal with traditional prescriptive medicine. And so I would be on a lot of panels. I would moderate discussions and things like that. And that's one of the things that was huge for me, because it offers you relief without ending up addicted to all these control medications, which is what a lot of our people suffer from, and why there's so much drug addiction. They are addicted to, Valium, things like that, because they pour those, they would give me tons of prescriptions, and I had to wean myself off of them, even in the midst of my pain, because I did not want to be lethargic and less of a woman that I was. I knew the caliber of woman I was, and with all that medication, I wasn't her. And so I had to wean myself off.
Yeah, definitely. And again, 404-600-3688 to get in touch with Ebony. We're going to get back into the super chat.
No, give them the other number.
Why would you give the number, Ebony?
404-662-9547. And a lot of these are just things I've done, like just,
things that you've done, past and present.
And you can see one of the people, the lady above me, is Fonnie Willis, who is the district attorney of Atlanta now, and responsible for the Trump prosecution and all of that stuff. So these are things I've done over the years. People always want to know who I am. That's who I am. I'm sitting amongst people that are on panels where, there are epidemiologists from the it slipped my mind, but epidemiologists and state senators and council people and PhDs and Ebene, because I have the capacity to sit amongst those people. This is Mark Baker, who was the mayor pro tem and a city councilman for the new city of South Fulton, which is the biggest city in America. Most of the administration is all Black, and I think all of it is. But when they were forming the new city of South Fulton, each one of the council people wanted to create a piece of legislation that was their landmark legislation. I assisted Mark Baker in creating the legislation to decriminalize marijuana in the city of South Fulton, to prevent our children from having their ability to get federal funding to go to college taken away from them, because one of the questions that they asked you when you're filling out for financial aid is, have you been arrested for use of drugs or drug crime? And so that he wanted to figure out what he could do. And I came up with him and said, hey, why don't you decriminalize marijuana here? And that's what we did. We successfully lobbied. That whole panel at the bottom, like I said, were all measure of people, scholarly people in the world. And we all sat on a panel and had to ratify this bill that was proposed to be able to come legislation, and it passed.
I love that, making a difference in so many people's lives. And also there's Nirvana Salon in New York City.
I closed, this was the one here. I closed the salon. So I had Nirvana, I had Ebene's in New York and Nirvana's out here, but I closed them down. But those were just flyers of my salons. Like, I've done so much. I had barbershops, beauty salons, spa. I've done a lot in my life. And I don't want
a lot.
Yeah. And I don't want to be minimized down to just the lady who got shot by Diddy.
Exactly. But you are so more. You are so much more than that. And you continue to be, because it's not over. Really quick, everybody say thank you for Vern for gifting those memberships. The Art of Business one said, how did Diddy expect to get away with the Club New York shooting? Prior practice on September 13th, 1996 and March 9th, 1997. So Diddy got into some type of gunplay, allegedly, on September 13th, 1996, and also March 9th, 1997. Again, when you hear about, and this goes to what the Art of Business, I think, is trying to get at, when you get into how much stuff Diddy got into and how he was the one that was able to skate away, those theories that he had, like a connect to the feds and the FBI, it becomes bigger and bigger. Now, I've said this on my channel a bunch of times, but if you're new to my channel, I do believe that Diddy did have some ties to the FBI. However, Homeland Security Investigations is investigating. These are the same people who took down El Chapo, Harvey Weinstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, all those people. Homeland Security is above FBI. So you could have a connect that looks the other way, but Homeland Security doesn't care anything about that. If you step on their toes, they are taking you down. I think that's another reason why Diddy didn't take it seriously, and he's kind of shell-shocked, because whoever was protecting you, if somebody was protecting you, they can't protect you anymore. Mistress Ebony, thank you so much for gifting a membership. Cassandra C says, what does justice look like for you today and going forward with anticipation of the federal trial? What does justice look like?
First of all, that's a great question. And again, thank you all so much. Justice for me looks like him being held accountable. I don't care if he is convicted of stepping on 10 ants in a row, or what he did to Cassie or me or everybody. Even if it gets to a point, for whatever reason, there's clauses, there's timelines, there's whatever. If they were to decide that that was not something that they would bring before the court, it wouldn't matter to me. The fact that Cassie was empowered enough in her life to get that stone, to look around on the floor and pick up the best stone and put that stone in her sling and take him out and start the avalanche of his recompense and his karma, that is what justice looks like for me. The fact that people know. I hate the fact that that video of her had to come out and she had to be re-victimized by everybody looking at the indignity she suffered. I hate that. But the double-edged sword of it was, people had to look at it and couldn't turn away from it. And if nothing else it does, outside of exposing him for who he was and bringing him to bear, if it does nothing else, it should make everybody look in the mirror of their own lives and say, who are you? What are you doing that you don't want to be shown out in the public? That's what justice looks like for me. For us all taking accountability for who we are and getting our own selves together. If you slapping your baby mama up, don't be on thing talking about, he dirty for what he did. You see what he did to that girl? What are you doing? What you over there doing? What Keisha got to put up with you? Be a better man. Be a better woman. Be a better parent. Love on you choose a woman, you lay down and you put destiny in her womb. Treat her like the queen you want your mama to be treated like. That's what justice looks like to me. Be decent in this world. Let's make a better world. We got all these things going on in the world that y'all better be prepared for Armageddon with the way that the world is working. But on a micro level, be decent and kind to each other. All this online bullying, look at her skin. She don't look good, girl. Look at your face. Cut all that crap out. Back in the day, they used to say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Fine. And I'm not talking about you, Tisa. I'm saying you are talking about stories.
It's okay.
God told me. I'm talking about stories. I'm talking about bullies that come in the comments when I'm telling my story and say stuff. I can't take nobody serious with them ugly glasses she got on and all kinds of foolishness. People like, oh, she must have ran out of money. She need a waist trainer. Really? I got shot, banged in my face. Is that what are you, 5 years old? That's your insult? Like, come on. Let's be kinder to one another. You don't know what people are struggling with.
Yeah, I've always said, and people laugh, and I know this sounds crazy, but I honestly do feel the popularity of true crime podcasts and court TV and all that stuff, I really do feel it's desensitized people to the suffering and horror of actually victims. It's almost like they're so used to seeing it. They're like, oh my God, so what, you got shot in the face? Like, are you insane? Do you hear yourself talking? People will sit there and listen to someone that unalive 7 people and ate their carcasses and be like, it's just, there's something of, but I think that is my whole point of saying this is, I think it is something very, very, it's very, what is the word? I can't even think of the word. It's very, very, they mean to do it. They mean to do it.
Yeah, it's intentional.
When you see where
I'm going to tell you an example. Let me give you a great example. So you know how you can tap on something in your reels, and if you tap on that, it'll cross up your algorithm and bring all types of stuff into you. So this person, I tapped on something that had reggae, and then it brought this thing into my algorithm where this person was playing Bob Marley. She was like, redemption song. And she was like, oh, I feel for the victims of this and that. And made Diddy, apologize. And he apologized. We got to give him a chance and all this stuff. And so I commented on her stuff and said, well, I'm the woman that he shot. And he didn't apologize. He said he's not asking for anybody's forgiveness.
Exactly.
So if you want to give redemption to his victims and stop re-victimizing by putting these nasty comments. You know what the person said? Oh, please. So what you want? A doggy biscuit? So you got shot. Okay. So you got shot in the face by Diddy. Whatever, boo. Who cares? I said, well, wait. What happened to Redemption Song and Bob Marley?
But that's what I mean. These false
with all the hand clap emojis in the thing.
No, but listen.
What, you want, a doggy biscuit? I was like.
But listen, that's what I mean.
You know what I said? There it goes. You the phony that I knew you was. That's why I commented on your picture. You told on yourself, phony.
Yes.
Person was fuming after that. Wrote me so many times. I said, you showing people what I saw on you when you came into my algorithm. You fake.
Yes. The falseness, the false idols, but you are right. There's so many people coming. You guys, this and that, preaching love and life, but they have an agenda. She had, even the way she said, what you want a cookie, you got more empathy for the mom. But at the end of the day, again, people worship at the feet of power for different reasons. And you just have to, once they expose themselves as not being on the right side, you can't even pay them any mind. You just have to keep moving. Thank you for revealing yourself to me. And you exposed her. What you want, a cookie? What? But then again,
do
just
I want a cookie?
Stupidness.
And do I want a doggy biscuit?
Yeah, what you want, a doggy biscuit? It's like, okay, girl. Yeah, listen, Kai. Also, let's give a shout out to Kai 1612 for becoming a member. Also, Cynthia for giving. Thank you so much for the super chat. Call me Emmy. Thank you. Said 441,000 with Natania. That's right. We are title tells. You got 441,000 people on your side. Thank you so much. Dween's 86. Also, Sophie LaRue says, I'm confused. Why would Shyne pay her since he didn't do it? In a normal case, ballistics would matter, but everyone was on Diddy's payroll.
So what this person has to understand is when you commit a crime, if you commit 2 reoccurring felonies, if you are doing something in the commission of a felony, everybody who is responsible is responsible. I didn't create that. The law created. If you have a problem with that, go submit a bill to Congress, have hearings, and have them correct that. I have to go by what they adjudicated as far as my civil trial. I have to go by what they adjudicated. And what they adjudicated is they meted out the level of responsibility. If you fire into an open environment and have the possibility for harming anyone, you are responsible in mass. That's why in a criminal trial, you have to be guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And in a civil trial, the burden is beyond the preponderance of the evidence. That means if it walk like a duck, talk like a duck, got feathers and say quack, quack, you guilty.
Yeah.
So whoever is responsible is responsible. And
but just to meter it out, they metered out by responsibility. So you know what it's like? It's like, let's just say you're hit out of a car accident where 3 cars collided and now you're paralyzed, right? I don't even want to put that out there, but 3 cars collided and something bad happens. When it's time for the payout, one person might have been texting, one person might have been drunk, and one person might have just been looking at birds going over the sky. They look at liability. Are you 70% responsible? 40% responsible? 20? And then when she gets her payment, when they say, we think that you deserve 10 million, one person got to pay 70%, the other person got to pay 20%, and the other person got to pay 10% of that 10 million. So
because what
he
they're
was
saying
responsible.
What they're saying is everybody who played a role in the occurrence bears a level of responsibility. And trust me, those type of questions only come when it's not on your doorstep. When your child, God forbid, has to endure something like that, you're not going to want to sit down and say, well, you don't got to do nothing. He could only do it. No, everybody responsible is responsible. And I really want people to, and it's okay that you ask the question, but I really want people to understand part of that question still has a little, but why he gotta, because the narrative is full on internet. Oh, I know Shyne took the fall and he did 10 years and he didn't do nothing. No, let's give respect to Julius Jones. Let's give respect to that man. Let's give respect to Robert Thompson. They also were victimized. They also were victimized. They also got banged that night.
And also, Shyne could have stood up. He could have stood up. And then when he was on trial, and if he had stood up and said something, he wouldn't have gone to jail for 10 years.
Remember,
Shyne made a choice to accept money.
He did back then. Their defense, Murray Richmond, I believe his name was. I forget the guy's name, but their defense was he fired in self-defense. So they never denied that he shot. So I don't know what this whole narrative is.
No. He could have said, He could have said that Diddy also shot. He knew in the car, he knew Diddy had a gun. He chose to stay quiet about what he saw and knew because he had allegedly a deal with Diddy. Shyne made his choices and he chose to go to jail. You know, so when people are like, oh, like Shyne's not an innocent victim in this, there's things that, and how do we know this? Because now he's saying it wasn't me. But if it's not you, who else was it? But you refuse to point your finger at the other person.
Well, because he's still, you know, if you're still milking, nursing off of the teat of somebody who's supplying your funds, you're going to say what you think you need to say to keep that stream coming in. But I think everybody who bears responsibility for this case needs to be responsible, and that includes J-Lo. You walked in with that pow. If Pookie or Keisha brought that in for Man, Keisha would be under the jail too. And I want everybody who is responsible to face responsibility. That's why she's running scared. Why would you still continue to align yourself with someone all these years later if you didn't have culpability in it? Why is this the source of why your marriage has a problem now? Because you're aligning yourself with someone from 24 years ago that you should have wanted to escape and never turn back and look like. You are connecting yourself and aligning and strategically aligning yourself and helping, if all of those accounts are true, allegedly, because you know you bear culpability and you're trying to cover your tail. She also testified in the grand jury years ago.
What did she testify?
And I wasn't in the grand jury, but I know she lied because she walked away.
Gotcha.
So you lied to a grand jury. That is perjury. And that's a crime. Not the least of which is if the account that Little Rod made and alleges in his lawsuit was pure and truthful, then you bear responsibility for bringing that in too.
That's true.
You are aiding and abetting in a felony. And I don't want that to be lost on anybody. And I don't have to hold a grudge against you for me to say, I want you to face responsibility for what you did.
Exactly.
You can't keep doing things in life. God, recompense, and karma will circle. Listen, karma spins the block when you least expect it.
Unfortunately, it really does.
Okay? It's going to spin the block when you put out a whole failed film project espousing your love. Karma is going to be like, here go my left turn. When you least expect it. If you do dirt, in the immortal words of DMX, you do dirt, you get dirt. It might take a while, but it's going to come back. So we should focus on what we're doing to each other. Now, just to go back to what somebody said, how can we support you? So a lot of people have been coming to me, and I'm still exploring ways of how I'm going to do this. I had to put the book on hold for a variety of reasons, which I won't mention here. But I'm either going to use the book format or doing a series format or whatever. And so here's the deal. I don't know the social media. Like somebody came on a post I made. It was like, oh, she's trying to finesse us to follow. Listen, dude, I'm 53. You think I be focusing on social media? I asked my daughter, what do I do? How do I tell people, it was so many comments. I didn't answer them all. And I was like, well, I don't know how to tell you how to know if you sincerely want me to do a series. I think what Risa Tisa did was a phenomenal thing. And if that's the medium that I can use, because I'm an eloquent speaker, so I don't have a problem with that. That might be easier for me. I'm willing to do it, but I'm not a sucker, and this is my pain. And so people don't get to live vicariously through my pain. I can sit here and tell my story, but you don't get to determine that I should tell my story and charge it to the game. No. I'm going to avail myself of what's out there. So when I said to my daughter, how do I at the first point, I just wanted people to tell me if they really wanted a series because I didn't know the process. My daughter said, tell them to follow you. I don't know enough about social media. I learned afterwards, after I made that video, but I didn't know enough in the beginning. So I've come to learn that 10,000. My daughter said when they get to like 9 or 10,000, I said, well, let's make it a round number, 10,000, because that's me always. I'm always making everything a round number.
Yeah.
So now that I found out and people have reached out to me and sent messages to me, people who are viral come in my DMs and say, hey, you should tell your story, but make sure you're able to monetize it. So get to this number of followers. If people want to hear my story, or because there's, so much more. Oh my God. But
yeah,
if they want to hear it, they can follow me. So I will be able to get monetized and I will do a series and tell it.
What are your socials? Let's talk about them right now. What are your socials?
Don't laugh at me now because I'm old girl. I don't even remember. My daughter always.
What are your socials?
I'm serious. Nirvana. Vaughn. Come here.
Well, you know what? While you're waiting for that, if you're watching this on playback, and I know a lot of her socials will be in the description box. And I'm going to rally everybody this week. If you're on YouTube, to follow your channel to get you over those.
My Instagram and all that. He's so laughing. What is it?
Hey, Nirvana.
Nirvana said, hey.
She sounds like an angel. She's like, hello.
And I'm gonna put up something also because she's running for Miss Georgia Teen USA, and there is a link for y'all to vote for. What's the link for?
People's Choice.
People's Choice. Please vote for my
People's
child. Yeah,
Choice,
that's how y'all
give me.
support us.
So listen, I'm gonna hook up with you offline to get the links, and also in my videos all this week, I'll put a link for you for everybody to vote for lovely Nirvana. Really quick, let me get through this really quick.
What's my YouTube?
And also,
so the dopest nerd is my YouTube. Instagram. What's my Instagram is having my say Eb. And what's TikTok? Oh, Eb the Jewel Dropper. See, I don't listen.
Child, it's okay. Listen, we're gonna have all the links to the social. The dopest nerd on YouTube. I'm going to promote that. Let's get your numbers up on YouTube, especially as the trial comes. I would really love to see you dissect the trial, talk about what's going on. And something tells me the trial is going to go all the way back to the time when you knew Diddy, and you can actually call him out on what's going on. Miss Courtney still.
If they do that, then there are certain facets that I won't be able to comment on if I'm a witness. So, but whatever I can comment on, I will. Absolutely.
Listen. Even that, even better. Miss Courtney spilled tea. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Tony Hurt, thank you so much for the super sticker. Cassandra C said, what does justice look like? Oh, that's right. Oh, also, thank you for and also thank you for the super chat against Cassandra. Gator Girl said, good point. She said, you said you picked up metal from the ground.
Metal.
Well, yeah. Thank you, Gator Girl.
I appreciate it. What I picked up was some hustler, I can only assume, a gigantic diamond bracelet that was that like bicycle link chain.
Yeah.
I lived off of that for 2 years. This thing was pure gold, huge, full of diamonds. So help me God. One of my homeboys took it to the Diamond District, and so I lived off of that money for 2 years. That's how gracious God is. He said,
wow,
trust in me and I got you.
Wow.
Promised, because I couldn't work. I had beauty salons. I could not stand up in the shop.
Yeah.
Nor would I feel comfortable standing in those big windows.
Of course.
My stylist tried to stay in the shop for a while, and eventually everybody started fading away because I had, you know how it is. You might have some stylists, but they're on public assistance too. So they're like, listen, I don't need myself working, looking at the news and seeing me in here doing hair, because the news was around my salons, like photographing and doing stories, and they all started fading away. I had one lady, my braider, I never forget, her name was Mary. She came to me, she did not speak English. She said, I need work, I braid. I said, come on. People was like, what you bringing her in here for? She corny, she doesn't. She stayed with me long after everybody was gone.
Oh, and wow.
Kept open every day, collected money, didn't hide not a dollar, always only took her portion and gave me the rest of from her commission. And God, I don't even know where she is now, but God bless her.
God bless you, definitely.
So, yeah, it was a bracelet.
Definitely. Hip Hop Street Legends, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Thelma Jordan, thank you so much. Vita said the DA moved you to another state due to threats and didn't call you to testify. Would you have testified?
This is what I'm talking about. Call me to testify with what? I testified in the trial. I was a star witness.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. A lot of people around that were very close with Diddy told a lot of lies. She was the star witness. Johnny Cochran testified. They moved her to Atlanta for a year before the trial because there was $150K price on her head. They moved her to Atlanta and they brought her back to testify, but they needed in the middle of the night. They were like, you got to go. And they moved her all the way across straight. Let's see. Also, Misunderstood, thank you so much for the super chat. Tom, thank you so much for becoming a member. Also, Melanie King, thank you for becoming a member. And also, Lisa Lou said, the ugly 15% need to shay away. Their negativity is not going to outshine the light of the Lord. God don't like ugly. #monster. I know that's right. I know that's right. It makes me wonder. I used to think that all these people leaving dumb remarks were just paid trolls, like literally paid trolls. But there are some people.
I think it's a cognition thing. I think it's
cognition. I think you think it's cognition because it's so far for who you are. It took me a long time to realize that the reason why evil and tyranny, we even see it happening now and everywhere, is allowed to go is because one, good people stay silent, but two, people literally will co-sign and rally around evil. I don't know where in their life they felt so powerless, so unloved, so horrible that they actually started rooting for the monster. It's a weird psychological thing. I still don't quite understand it, again, because it's so far away. I might not care and might not get involved if I see two equal people arguing. But if I see something bad happening to someone, nobody likes a bully. Nobody likes somebody, just a tyranny of evil over good men. It's odd. It's odd.
I think there's a dichotomy also to be considered. I don't think all of the questions that seem off are rooted in a malintent. I think it's like the difference is how our brains are wired. So it's like that whole controversy where is the dress white and gold or is it blue and black? Remember that whole thing? It's because of the wiring in our brains, people will see spectrums differently than others. And so I think when some people are rooted in evil when they say slickness, but I do think there is a subsection of it where people are just, it's how their brain is wired. They see it differently.
But how hard is it, honestly, to, when I hear something happen to someone, the first thing I do is imagine someone I am very close to and someone I love in that situation. And depending on what I feel about that is how I react, right? If I hear like somebody like pulled up the Taco Bell and bang bang to the cashier, the first thing I think of is somebody I love doing that and being like, why would they do that? Justification, blah, 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 blah. And then if I'm like, there's no justification for that, then it's fine, whatever. But I don't understand why in this day and age, and maybe it was always like this, but the internet, because let's not forget, there was segregation, there was civil rights, the Japanese people got put in internment camps, the Korean people, like Black people are like, there's been a history. You can just go back 5 years, 10 years. What happened to the Native Americans, right? The way they look at Arabs, it's like all Arabs are like, Hamas, like whatever, right? There, you can just go back a day, a week, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I just don't understand why it's so hard for people to have empathy for others. Because even if you don't, can you just imagine somebody you love going through that and then act accordingly? If I wouldn't want that for my mom, why would that be cool for someone else's mom? If I don't want that for my brother, why is that cool for your brother? You know?
Well, what I had to come to terms with also, and it's a weird dichotomy, but I had to come to terms with that in my case, people lacked empathy because I looked whole and I sounded so resolute and strong. I didn't represent a shrinking violet that they felt like they needed to come and rescue, which is crazy. I met a young lady years ago and she had a contorted, twisted face. But she was cool. She was popping, she was fine. We hit it off really well. We worked together briefly. And we got along really well, and we would take the same train out. And then at a certain point we would switch and go to our separate ways. But one day on the train, I saw her looking at me. I kept feeling her looking at me, and I was like, what's up? Like, why are you looking at me? And she said, you're so lucky. And I said, what you mean? She said, you're so blessed, Ab. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, the same thing that happened to you happened to me. And I said, what happened to me? Because mind you, I didn't think she knew what happened to me. She said, I know you're the lady that got shot in the club. She said, that's why my face is twisted. I got shot in a club. And I said, what? Wow. She said she was an innocent bystander and got shot in a club just like me. But she developed Bell's palsy and her face was twisted. Oh, wow. I thought when I first met her, I thought she had cerebral palsy or something, but she was just popping. And, I didn't care about that. I don't care about things like that. She said, no, what happened to my face was scarred, but then it twisted one day, and her face, she talked like, it was bad. Yeah. And she said, the same thing that happened to you happened to me. God got his hand on you for a reason, girl. Look how you look. You can't even tell. All this time, I didn't even think she knew, but she knew who I was. She recognized me, she said. And she was like, you're so blessed and you're so lucky. And that always stayed with me. And I came to terms with that. Sometimes people will be like, she looked fine. I don't believe that. I even had a doctor. When I was here in Georgia, I started going through some pain physically and I couldn't understand what was happening. I didn't know what was happening, but it was the onset of my seizure disorder. Prior to the seizure disorder hitting me, I would go to the doctor. I was like, I'm in so much pain. I'm having these now I know them to be called an aura. I didn't know what it was at the time. And you know what this woman said? Oh, I need to, she calls her medical assistant and says, oh, refer this one to behavioral health. Now, I worked in the Office of Mental Health and Office of Mental Retardation for years. I said, behavioral health? You think I'm lying?
Yeah.
You said she wrote in the chart that I was coming in there looking for drugs. Meanwhile, I got 9 bullet fragments in my face. You see how understanding can determine how someone is treated? Because it's not about the person, not about me. It's about what lives in her head. Maybe you a secret drug addict, and so you're projecting your stuff onto me. And I flip out. Like, excuse you, behavioral health, look, trick, give me an x-ray. And when they gave, and I had to get like that to her, and then I had to get another doctor in the same Kaiser. But this woman said, this one is on a search for drugs. I've had to deal with that with, you know what a lot of that comes from? When I have to go to the emergency room wreathing in pain, a lot of white doctors and nurses, they're like, on the scale of 1 to 10, what would you consider your pain? Now I got bullet fragments in my head. I say it is 192. She's on a quest for drugs. I ain't never been a drug addict. That's not my, it's not my thing. When I had friends that were smoking weed, doing this, doing that in the street, drinking this, not me. But yet that is cast upon me. Let this be a lesson that people are projecting what lives in them onto other people. Stop projecting your dirt onto people, because you could impact my ability to heal and have substantive health care because you think. My grandmother, God rest her soul, one of her favorite scriptures is, so as a man thinketh, so is he. If you think everybody's a drug addict, because you're a drug addict. If you think everybody's a whore, because you're a whore. If you think everybody's a liar, it's because you're a liar. Start separating your thoughts from your projections and listen to understand and not to respond.
That is true. That is true. And listen, DG Full Cell, thank you so much for the super sticker. And finally, 1016 said, your story is so inspiring. God bless you and your family. You said that you picked metal off the floor and put it in the bag. What was it? Yeah, she just went over that. I know it's within, but they're listening on replay.
Yeah,
but
no problem.
When she was going, there was a bracelet that was a very heavy, solid gold bracelet with diamonds. It was never reclaimed by the owner. She just was stumbling through, picked it up, didn't even know what she was picking, but she heard the God saying, pick this up. And oddly enough, oddly enough, one of her friends took it, sold it because there was no owner for it, took it, and it sustained her for those 2 years as her business dwindled down because of what happened. So in a weird way, it was like, you know how God covers you and puts things in your path, is like, and this is how you're going to eat, and this is how you're going to survive, and this is how you're going to tell your truth. Natania, listen.
Normalcy for your children in this, but listen, a biggest thing, I have to give a shout out to my sons. My sons were forced to grow up. So they were 7 and 10 when I was shot. They are now about to be 35 and 31. And God bless. There have been many times where I was a phenomenal mother and many times when I was a shell of a woman. And by God bless those 2 beautiful Black men that I pushed forth out of my womb. Thank God for them, because I'm telling you, my sons raised me at one point. They had to be the de facto parent. I have to also give a shout out to one of my girlfriends. Her name is Tish. She recently came and visited me. This is what this case showed me what real friends were. Tish had been my friend for years. When I got pow-powed, Tish came and took care of me and my kids. When I tell you, when all the fanfare and the cameras went away, she came and got my kids every week, took them to the movies or basketball, washed my clothes, washed my underwear, fed me. She would come and cook, parse out the food, put it in the fridge, tell the boys microwave this and put it out for you and your mother. She did everything for me, everything. And half the time she couldn't stay, and she lived in Jersey. She would be like, gotta go. I mean, just loved on me like a true friend, and has stayed my friend. When I tell you, I could be in a feeling low, very rarely, but I could be feeling low. And here will come something through my phone. Shoot. And it's one of those little inspirational, blessings and da-da-da. And I could always count on her for that. When I tell you that is what friendship looks like. And I owe a shout out. Also, my girlfriend, Carla. stand in the gap. It's so funny. Carla had been my friend for a lot of years. I had blessed Carla years ago. They were going through something, her and her husband. I didn't even remember it. One day I was going through something and she said, sis, she's very spiritual. She's like, what's up? You good? I ain't hear from you in a while. Y'all good? Yeah. And she just said, here, God told me to send you this, and sent it to me. And tears fell, because trust and believe. And I was like, why are you doing this? And she said, you don't remember what you did for me?
Wow.
Before God, did not remember it, not one bit. She said, when me and my husband were drowning financially with our kids, you blessed me out of the blue. I never asked for it, anything. I got to stand up for those friends. She always has a kind word. She always has you'd be surprised, because here's the thing. While I did get a settlement, I helped everybody in my family. Everybody. I'm not going to be sitting over here with a load of stuff and your kid need to go to college here. Listen.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. That's
friend and foe.
Yeah.
People that I say hit with this hand, and they took it with this hand and slapped me with the next hand.
Wow.
And I don't hold no grudge to them, because guess what? They see me in the street. I saw one the other day. I was like, you look familiar. Where do I know you from? That's how I had to handle her. And she was like, oh, Ebony. And I played that game with her, because guess what? I'm not holding no grudge to you, but I know in this moment, as soon as your eyes met mine, God made you revisit how you did me when I held you and your children down when you was home. So I don't hold grudges. God got a reason for all of us to be here. Perhaps we need to dig in our soul and find out what our purpose is. What is the role we serve? My message and God's use for me is to stand resolute, don't hold a grudge, love people regardless of how deserving they are of it. Unconditional love. That is what God taught me. That is what my mission on this journey is. Unconditional love.
I love that. I love that. And finally, as we age, says, please look into what happened to Twitch. You could see by the look in his face when Diddy would come on the Ellen show. Not sure, but I think Diddy's name is all on why he checked out. Listen, I haven't looked into the Diddy and Twitch connection. I will say at this point, if you told me Diddy has something to do with RFKs, murking, I'd be like, I 100% believe it. Let's find the receipts, because again, he is literally the most unlucky person in the world and got the angel of death, or he actually is the angel of death, touching everybody in his path. Too many people, too many times, and he's always scot-free. And every single time somebody fades, he uses that to catapult to the next level. So I will say that, like, Natania, I really do. We all thank you so much for coming on this channel. For those of you guys that want to help and support Natania, I'm going to put all the links in the description box to all her socials, but also for her lovely daughter, Nirvana. Let's vote for her for the People's Choice. I'm going to promote her all this week and get your baby's numbers up. So because she is in the running for the Miss Junior Teen,
Georgia Teen USA.
Georgia Teen USA. Let's literally show that we are tools of the Lord or the universe, whatever you believe in, of good and righteousness. And let's actually run her numbers up. So if you're watching this on playback, subscribe, hit the like button. But even if you don't, please go support Natania. I'll be talking about her a lot more on my channel this week. And there will be links in the description box on playback to support everything. And I'll have them in my description box all this week. Okay? So we can actually, and the Dopest Nerd is her YouTube channel. The Dopest Nerd. Please stop by her YouTube channel.
THA, Dopest Nerd.
THA, the Dopest Nerd. Please go to her YouTube channel, subscribe. She's going to have some really good content, but honestly, you feel her energy and her light. And you know, YouTube is just like network TV. There's room for everybody on here, you know, so please go and support. And I definitely want to hear her opinion on what she can talk about during the Diddy trial. There's a chance she might actually be called to testify. So that'll be another thing. But yeah.
I do want everybody within the sound of my voice too. Like Tisa was telling you, my husband asked me to insure him because he was suffering from kidney disease. And I tried to apply to every insurance company and everybody denied him. And so unfortunately he passed away and I wasn't able to honor his request to get him insured. However, in honor of him, I decided to go study and become a licensed life insurance agent to be able to understand the inner workings and be able to help other families prepare for the eventuality. Because we prepare for parties, we prepare for vacation, we plan for everything, but we don't plan for death. And that's the only guaranteed thing. We gonna leave here. We're gonna leave. And so I want to be able to, it's important for us to leave a legacy. We have to stop utilizing things like GoFundMe as our burial plan. That's not what it was created for. It was a crowdfunding thing. For the price of your Starbucks, which nobody should be drinking Starbucks right now anyway, but I digress. But the price of your coffee.
No, they shouldn't. You shouldn't. You shouldn't. If you don't know why,
there you go.
Go educate yourself.
Go research. Yeah. Go research. But if I really want people to understand that it doesn't cost that much to be insured. You can have a final expense, you can have an index universal life policy, you can have a term, you can have a whole estate planning, but you all need to get a trust and some burial insurance, if at the minimum. Because you need to be able to go home to glory with dignity and not be waiting until Keisha get her stamp so we can have a fish fry or GoFundMe. Let's do this with dignity, because we plan for everything else. We've conquered every single facet of society except leaving a legacy for our families. And let's put our kids in a better position. In your absence, if you struggle throughout your life and you're never able to buy that house for your kids, but in your absence, that insurance will give your children and your grandkids a house, baby. $40, $45 a week should not stop you from being able to provide that. The one guarantee we gonna have, like we used to say back in the days, all I'm gonna do is stay black and die. We gonna die. All of us. We will go home to glory. And we gotta be okay with understanding it. It's the cycle of life. Let's prepare for it and go with dignity. Make sure that your mama goes down with dignity. Don't be out here hustling, trying to get 5 and 10 from people when it's time for your mama to go. Let's get a policy. Call me, send me a text. I have agents. We will get together with you and write your policies. We can do it over the phone. We can do it in person. But plan. Just prepare yourself. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So let's do this.
Yeah, let's do this. Listen. There's a way forward. I'm a big believer in planning for everything. You guys, listen, I want everybody, Trishawn said we must protect this woman at all costs. That's right. But she is anointed. God has his hand on her. Listen, Natania, thank you so much for joining. I know I said I was going to keep you on for an hour, but y'all know me. I'm this. Well, okay, so one more question, right? Thank you for staying on, for sharing your story. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to even understand what you went through, but also sharing like your recovery and how you walked in your faith toward everything. You know, it's a study in positivity. And again, everybody talks about Diddy's victims, but this is what moving on looks like. And this is the glossed over version. I know you've been through a lot. You are still going through a lot, but thank you for being strong enough to have always stood in your truth, and also to keep your heart open and soft to expand and have empathy for everyone around you and all future victims and people that don't even understand. Even how you said, I would have said they're dumb. You're like, no, it's cognitive. You know, yes, it's cognitive, you know. But thank you so much, Natania. You are a treasure.
Like, Tisa. Shout out to Tisa. First of all, let's give her a resounding round of applause, because you are so dope. Like I said to you, I feel like whenever I watch your show, I feel like I'm talking to my girlfriend. I be talking back to the TV with you, girl, laughing. Your jokes are hilarious. Shout out to mom and dad. I love it.
Yes, they're watching. They said to tell you hi. They were texting me while you're talking. They were like, shut up, let her talk. I was like, oh my God, I'm being bullied.
Give my mother on to Tisa. My mother calls me now and be like, you know what Tisa said? My mother, Gloria. My mother
Shout out to Mama Rueben. Shout out to Mama Rueben and beautiful Nirvana. So you guys, links will definitely be in the description box if you're going to watch this on Play Black. And I'll be promoting things. Well, not even promoting, but just expanding knowledge of all things all this week. So you guys, please give a big thank you for Natania. And thanks for everybody for hanging in here. Baby, it was a long live, but this is what a good live is. We laughed, we cried, we had righteous fury. This was a good live. This was a good live. All right, you guys, thank you so much. And Natania, thank you so much for joining.